Here we go.
Cut the fix up with some Xbox babies, put the switch up. See me gearing up for war, don't get it mixed up. I come in peace, kid. I'm bringing commentary and the new releases. I put them hours in to get prepared now. We play on expert level, don't be scared now. I'ma destroy you when I'm forza, I can tear down. If you ain't tuned into the channel, keep your head down. Cut the fix up with some Xbox babies, put the switch up. See me gearing up for war, don't get it mixed up. I come in peace, kid. I'm bringing commentary and the new releases. I put them hours in to get prepared now. We play on expert level, don't be scared now. I'ma destroy you when I'm forza, I can tear down. If you ain't tuned into the channel, keep your head down.
Hello, you made me promises, promises. Shout out to Bad Bit for the song selection.
That's right. I was singing it back behind the stage. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
It was
So,
a beautiful also.
It was beautiful. You should have heard him. I was wowed. All of us gave him a standing applause. But listen, thank you guys for being here with us on The Fix tonight, joined by myself, Infinite Umbra, and my co-host, Daniel McGee.
Hey, everybody.
So, guys, as usual, you know how OBS is. I want to make sure that you guys can hear us. So if you have heard us, please let us know quickly in the chat so we can keep things rolling here, because we've had one too many incidents with that. If you can hear us, throw up a 1. How about that? But what's up, everybody, by the way? I see you, Pete. What up, Gray? What's up, brother? Yo, Donnie can't be here tonight as he has a bad toothache. Well, at least empty tooth. Get that removed. So he has an ache, I guess, would be the best way to put it. Yeah, and we had heard news for those who are wondering about our brother Bushido. Okay, they can hear us good. Thank you, guys. Bushido is recovering well. His wife hit me up, and she said that he is sitting up. He's out of the ICU. He's eating and everything. So that's a great news after such a major surgery. So all love to Bushido and to his missus and to the family. Really happy to hear about all of that. But yeah, let's keep this news going. Yeah, I mean, you guys see the title for tonight. Sharing is caring. So we're going to stick to that mostly. I'm not trying to keep the show too long. I know these gentlemen have other things to do. I want to give love and shout out to everybody here tonight with us. And of course, I have to make sure to shout out my brother Adidas 20 who drops a generous $5 super chat. He says, your Chicago brother is here. Have no fear. Absolutely, brother. Thank you for that. Thank you for being here. And thank you all for being here. If you guys have not done so, please hit the like button and share this out. I have my tweet as well on Twitter that you can share out. Thank you very much. So let's move on to the guest, Mr. Bad Bit, brother. Thank you for joining us. What have you been up to, and what have you been playing?
Oh man, what have I been up to? I've been restoring democracy across the galaxy, liberating it from tyranny, and just really fighting the war that people are afraid to fight. It's not the console war. It is the war against the automatons who want to destroy our way of life. They want to destroy democracy. They want, dude, you don't even know what they want. They're changing all sorts of history on us. We need to take back our history from the automatons. That's what we need to do. And so I'm fighting the good fight on Helldivers because nobody is brave enough. They're way better to fight against than the bugs. I think the bugs are stupid. I love fighting Terminators in Vietnam. It's awesome.
Those damn T-1000s kick my ass.
It's awesome. I just fought a tank an hour ago.
Oh wow, I haven't even gotten to that part. I can't even imagine how hard that must be if these T-1000s are cutting me up to pieces. But yeah.
And let me tell you something. I did not know I put already 40 hours in this game.
Oh wow. I wonder how much I've put into it now that you mention that.
It's
I need to
it's
look
been
into
a lot.
mine. Yeah,
It's problematic.
it's a
Yeah.
fun ass game, man. I want to
It
get you
is.
guys' thoughts on that, and I don't know who all have played it. Danny, have you played it? And OBM, have you guys played it too?
No, I haven't touched it. It's not really my kind of game, to be honest.
Okay. Oh, I didn't.
It does look like
Yeah.
my kind of game, but I haven't. I've been waiting for the server thing because I got backlog. So so I'll be on probably. I'll be joining sometime.
You'll be joining the fight for democracy soon.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, I looked at it and now I have 26 hours into it, so I put some time into it. Yeah, part of the issue why my time is shorter than what I would have expected, though, is because of the unfortunate server issues that they've had. So while the game has some positives, it definitely has some technical limitations now outside of even just the server issues. There's somebody who was responding to me a minute ago on Twitter who was telling me, because I wrote off the just Gymquisition, dude. I'm sure you all have heard of Gymquisition. And he's like, oh, it's a 35. It's like, this is not a 35. The game is not broken. You should not be giving it a 35. I think it should get some demerits because of the server issues, be that on them or because of Sony. You can't have an online only game and not allow us to get online with it, right? I think that deserves a point off, maybe a 2. But I think giving it a 35 is a lie, and that's just for clout to me. I just don't think that's a fair. That shouldn't count, if that makes sense to anybody, to give this game that. This game is otherwise fun as hell, even if limited as far as game style and modes that you would do, because it's basically go here, do that, shoot these things, right? Repeat, rinse and repeat. But it's fun. So fun factor has to matter at a point. Would you agree, Bad Bit?
Oh, absolutely. And the good thing that you touched on, server cap, this comes from the CEO, has increased. They can handle the current CCU without any issues. And he says we will hit the cap again at some point. Oh shit, that's how popular this game is. And we don't know if we can support everyone this weekend. So I don't know how big they're thinking. I know the cap previously was 450,000 people playing Helldivers at once was their limit. So seeing that it get raised is awesome. Interesting to see that maybe they're predicting it to be even bigger this weekend coming. It's gonna be an interesting time. But yeah, no, this game is hit on all cylinders for me. And it is, like, at the end of the day, it's a pretty simple concept, but the way you can expand it and get deep within it, it's like it's for everyone. Everybody can come in and have a good time playing. But like once you really get to knowing the systems on a deeper level, the game just opens up in just so many different ways. It is so much fun. I'm currently doing like number 7 difficulty. So like I'm getting a handle.
You're getting
on
up
things.
there, yeah. I got as far as I've gotten is hard difficulties for now.
Yeah, I saw the Gymquisition review, and I thought they've been like out of touch for years now. So it's like, it's just typical. I get it,
right?
like corporations, it's like,
yeah, it's tiresome. It's like, get out of here with your the agenda thing is annoying to me when it comes to anything where you're supposed to have actual merit to judge. Because he did the same thing for Starfield, because he has an issue with Bethesda. It's like, I can't take you serious if you're pushing your agenda. And even for Hogwarts, did the same. It's like, take your agenda out of it and give me a fair review based on the merits of this game. I don't care about your agenda. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean. Outside of gaming, sure, I can see the humanity. I'm not trying to be cold-blooded. But don't bring that here. This is about the merits of this thing. Guys, let's keep it to that.
Yeah, it's about the merits of the game, not like how you feel about like Sony on an individual basis, So yeah, no, it's seeing some of the reviews, it's shocking. In like on the like 35 scale, and I was actually talking to someone, I think it was like Jesse from Xbox era. I'm just like, yeah, it is weird to see like people give this thing a 9, because like it's certainly a lot of fun, but I also certainly can't get into this game and stay in this game. Like, it has been a trouble accessing the game and then like getting kicked out. Now again, recently, the past 2 days, I have not experienced any of that, thankfully. But you know, it's something like if I was reviewing it, and I'm also not a reviewer, so I want to know. But I'd be like, hey, at the moment, it's this. It will change as this game evolves. It will update you once these things are fixed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's interesting. Though I love the game, and it is currently my game of the year. So
Oh wow,
I
you got
love
the
it.
high praise. Like I wouldn't put it to that level for me yet, but what I will say is unabashedly, the game is fun as hell. Playing it with friends and such like that makes it even more fun. It's one of those things I think that is just a social thing. Like it makes it so much. I would imagine if they could have increased the capacity of people that could play in a match, it would make the game even more fun. Like if they could get it to 8 players or something like that, I can imagine the chaos that would ensue if you can make it that and put it at its hardest difficulty, only for that to be allowed, whatever. But I think it's just a really good game in a lot of ways. Surely they have the foundation there. They got some things to fix. Again, they have, in my opinion, a very limited customization that they need to work on. That right there is only like, if I had to point out because of like MTX and stuff like that, they keep it pretty bare bones. And I don't know if that was because they wanted to make it easier for people to just play the game and be able to earn things, or because they're so limited as a team that they can only do so much either. I don't know for sure, but I will say that it's digestible for now, the microtransactions. I would just want them to expand on the customization. And I'll say this too, and I had this thought, and it was actually floated to me by my brother Uso Vinny, who a minute ago I was on the KY Bob show, and he said to me, he asked, how would you guys feel if, Totoki and okayed this to come to Xbox? And I said that would make absolute sense, and for so many reasons. Because what I do one of the things I do love about this game, and we'll move on, folks, I don't want to drag on with it, but one of the things I do love is their kind of love letter, not only to Starship Troopers, but clearly to Halo in this game. And you could see it, you could feel it in a lot of ways, because they have clear references to the Pelican that you exfil out with. They have names that, like, for your ship, that you can name your ship literally the Pillar of Autumn if you want it. They have the Twitch drop that just dropped the other day, for this week rather, called the Commander I forgot the name, TR117. You can't get more clear than that. The 117 armor that you can get from Twitch. And just little things like that you will see. It's probably more that I'm forgetting, but clear references to both Starship Troopers and Halo in a lot of what they do. And and it's just fun in that way, but also too, because the voice acting, these people had to have some fun doing this when they shout out, have a nice cup of democracy. Stuff like that is just, it's real endearing. The game has a ton of charm.
I love when they yell out like "Sweet Liberty, my leg." Great, dude.
Yeah.
Like, instead of "son of a bitch," I'm gonna strictly say "oh, sweet liberty" every time I get injured. Now it's great.
Or they'll laugh. You hear the maniacal laugh they do when they're really feeling
When
it.
you're holding down the rifle and burn down.
Yeah. They were like, ha ha. It's just fun as hell. And I have to say, if you all have not given it a try, for whatever reason, well, the server issues are real, but they're getting on it. Other than that, it is worth every penny, and it's only $40. So you can't really go wrong, honestly. It's just really fun, and I hope more people give it a chance. But I do want to move off of that. Aside from that, how's the podcast been doing? I saw that you guys posted something recently. What's been up with you and your co-host?
Who, me? Little old me?
You little old you.
Right now it's this goddamn dog who's found. she's our third co-host.
I heard her in the back earlier.
Let's go.
Yo, she is something else. No, man, it's going great. The podcast is doing great. The one thing that I love is, like, I'm trying to hell dive with all sorts of community members. Like, we're doing it like every 10 p.m. We're getting a group together, and we're spreading democracy across the galaxy. And then also just, like, being able to, like, drop onto other people's, like, games and, like, them being a little, like, starstruck. It's very weird to me. It's a very new feeling. And just, like, learning about the people that listen to the show. It's awesome. I love the community that we're building over at the Trophy Room. It's something It's something very special. We got some surprises,
Nice.
cooking up in the oven that maybe you'll get to experience soon if you like Final Fantasy and some of the voice actors there. Yeah?
Very nice. Very nice. Speaking of Final Fantasy, I saw that I'm sure Danny you might have this in a roundup, so I won't touch that, but
Yeah.
yeah, so I'll hold off on that one. One Bad Mother, my brother.
Yes, sir.
From another. I'm sorry, I have to keep running. It's the black in me. I have to do it by law. Brother, thank you for joining us and welcome back. And tell the good folks what you've been up to and what you've been playing.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, it's great to be back, you guys. I guess I got my best black on right now to pay respects for Xbox. So that's the number one thing I'm doing today.
Oh, rest in peace.
That's why I'm here. Rip. And it's great to be on with Joe again. Joe, always a pleasure talking to you, man, about stuff.
Likewise.
And and I think we're gonna have some good discussions today. I'm actually was excited about this panel because there's a lot of topics going on. I know everybody's got different opinions, which is cool. I like to maybe come at things from different angles, so I want to hear what you guys think about that. But other than that, I've been playing. You've been trying to get caught up in some of the backlog. Other than Infinite Wealth, that one's Like a Dragon that came out in 2020 is probably the first Japanese RPG that I've got all the way to the end of and beat since the original Final Fantasy VII on the original PlayStation. So so I definitely had to pick up Infinite Wealth, and it's awesome. And also I decided you know what, the zeitgeist got me on some of this Final Fantasy stuff. So I did pick up the remake, and I'm like rotating between those two right now, which is odd for me. I'm more of a Western RPG gamer, but I'm two Japanese RPGs I'm juggling between. Between that, it's always a little bit of multiplayer. Call of Duty, Halo, it's like standard. But
Absolutely.
but yeah, man.
We got to get in some Halo time this week too. I know we were talking about that before. We got to get back on.
Definitely got to get some bands back together and play some Halo again, because there's a lot of cool stuff on there. And it's like, for anybody who's taking a break from Halo, sometimes I go back and there's like, oh, look at all these new maps. And, even the ones that are made in Forge, like they look and they play well. Like they could be developer maps, a lot of them. So a lot of content, a lot of new like little tweaks here and there. It's definitely worth jumping into again. It's kind of weird because the game was such a it was on fire for a whole year basically, and now it is actually a good live service.
I agree.
Because of a lot of it has to do with how good the Forge is and the participation from the community, because they're coming up with some just crazy high
maps.
quality stuff.
Yeah, those maps are next level good. Like, I don't know how they do it.
And they're coming up with game modes too, like all kinds of stuff. And it's really good. It's a live service that it doesn't really rely on the FOMO. You can just jump in there and have some casual games. So I'm hoping I don't know, maybe it's just one of those things, or just they just wanted to get it up to snuff so that before they move on to the next thing, it's in a respectable spot. But I would like to see them push it one more time and see if they can bring some people back to it. Because I do think it's earned that at this point. And by the way, the Halo show this year is not a dumpster fire like it was last year.
This Halo show has been excellent. Did you watch the newest one, episode 4?
I just did, yes.
I haven't watched it yet, so don't spoil it for us, but I have to check that out tonight. If you all have not watched the new season of Halo, it is what we wanted Halo Season 1 to be. And I'm not saying that easily and lightly. Season 1 had maybe an episode or 2 that was okay and pretty decent. Season 2 so far has had at least 3 great ones. First episode, spectacular. I would give that a 9 out of 10. Second episode, probably a 7.5 or maybe out of 10. Third episode, more of an 8 out of 10. And I'm hoping tonight's that show that I'll watch is actually back up to like an 8 or a 9. But it has been light years better than the first season. So that is great to know.
Yeah, on a relative basis, it's a much better. Last year was just a dumpster fire. It was. I liked one. I liked one the second half of that 5th episode where they had the Needler kill, and that was. Take that, like, that half hour, that last half hour of the episode was better than the rest of the season together.
Yep.
This one's definitely had, it's still not perfect. Still some things I would change, but as the old man yelling at the clouds, the oldest man yelling at the clouds here. There's still some things I don't like, but it definitely is interesting this year, and I did enjoy the 4th episode. So
Yeah.
I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on that.
Yeah, we gotta have ourselves some type of Halo TV recap or something, space or something one day or something. I don't know. Maybe after the season is up.
I did that for the first season. It was like I was hate watching the whole thing though, and all I did was bitch.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not gonna do that this year. I'm trying to be
Here's
more
the thing.
positive.
I tried to just watch season 2. Okay, like just start there, and like the first 15 minutes are pretty good. Like the him fighting the elites are great, and then I got to like a woman in a top hat, and I just got angry. I was like, "This is
that stuff, and that was terrible." Yeah, that thing that looked like it was out of like Mad Max Thunderdome or something.
Exactly. I'm like, what is this?
It's like this ain't. It's like, is this a new Yeah, it's like
Yeah, no, I was like, please stop. This isn't Halo. And so like I just feel like I become an old man. Or like my racist uncle at Thanksgiving. He's like, this is America. It's like, all right, Rich. Like, let's relax.
This isn't America.
It's like when I watched the first episode, I knew like that was genuine, like of the first season. I didn't need to watch more. And people are like, no, I think you should watch, 1 or 2 more to get a whole thing. I'm like, no, that was no. He took off the helmet. No.
No, I feel you on that. That's one of the pet peeves I had so far.
So I didn't even get to be upset with Master Cheeks.
Yeah.
I was just like, no, this ain't it.
I get it,
What?
but I will say they've repented. It
no,
seems.
the helmets and the armor. You're gonna be frustrated with the 4th one now.
Oh wait, the 4th one. Oh, they violate.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's a total violation. I mean, at least there wasn't any ass cheeks in this one, but it was still a violation.
So far, season 2
you
has
have to
been
get over it. I
been
get it.
cheekless. So I will say that Michael cheekless this season. So we've been all right with that, but it's unfortunate. Well, I got to see why the helmets were off on this one, I guess, to be fair. But
yeah, that's
was it
like
reasonable?
I said,
Well, I'll
it's
see. I'll see.
No, it's not. It's not reasonable. It's and like I
He
said,
said, "No, it's not."
It's not. But it's more watchable. It's like you do got to put your I do got to put my Halo CE as the best game of all time. Mindset away and accept it for what it is, and that it's kind of a Halo show and it's kind of just a sci-fi show, and sometimes it has some cool things that are Halo, and then sometimes it's like
the armor is cool when he's wearing it, but like even sometimes when he talks, I'm like, Master Chief's a little bit. He's more of a 5-word a sentence type of guy.
I
So-
agree.
yeah. This guy does
agree.
talk too much. He's way too emotional. Yeah.
Exactly.
To be fair, they removed
Hashtag not my chief.
They remember they moved the chip from them that would inhibit emotion. So to be fair to them, they give a reason why he's more emotional in this, right? So that to be fair to it,
They should have put the chip back.
Instead of like, I need a weapon, it's like, I need a moment. I need a cry.
I need a moment.
Why do I have all these feelings?
Feelings, nothing.
I need a
but
soul off.
feeling. I need a soul off.
I need to relax.
I need to
Oh,
tell
good
my
times.
truth. No, I get it. I get it. I will
I
acknowledge
need to
that.
talk about my feelings.
Yeah, right. And I will say they have an interesting way they're approaching things when it comes to him. I mean, he's been defiant. He's clearly like a fiery chief. He's not like, I'll follow all your orders you give me, so to be fair. But I mean, hey, it is what it is when it comes to that. I will say it's good that you have been venturing out to more of these Japanese, the JRPGs, as you have, one Bamba. Now, have you ever played any of the other Yakuza like that, or was this like your first one?
Well, so Yakuza, I did play 0 on Game Pass, and then I bounced over. I didn't finish it. I went over to Like a Dragon. I did because I liked the vibe of it, and I hadn't played a turn-based Japanese RPG in so long. That game was really damn good. I mean, the story and everything, the characters. I think Ichi's probably one of the best new characters to come along in the last few years. So really got into that. The new system's even better, and I will also say, like playing the Final Fantasy VII remake, I like the combat in that. I was actually surprised that I'm actually enjoying the combat more than even the nostalgia from the story, which is kind of interesting.
So,
But,
so speaking of that, and I'm guessing both you and Babbitt, I'm guessing you played the Rebirth demo. Did you guys try out the Rebirth demo?
not yet.
So I tried out the Rebirth demo. I've never touched the 7 remake yet. So when I played Rebirth, the demo at least, I was like, what the hell type of combat system is? I didn't understand it, right? And because you kind of freestyle, moving, flowing, like you have freedom of movement to a degree. You can't jump, which I don't like. I feel any game that you have action in, you should be able to jump.
Yeah.
But then I noticed like it's this, I guess it was called the ATB system or something like that.
Yep.
So that was interesting. I do like how the attacks are displayed once you actually activate them. But it seems like it's supposed to be some type of compromise, I guess, for old school fans and new, more action-based fans alike. So it's kind of weird to me. What I will say is I think the environments are kind of wanting. I wasn't impressed by the environments overall. Just felt like, I'm just going through this area to get to the next, for me, at least in the Rebirth demo. And I didn't care for the dialogue in the demo, but then I'm hearing like from the reviews, the dialogue's so great. So maybe it gets better, and maybe it's nostalgia I don't have with some of these characters, to be fair. I don't want to write it off, but I didn't care for the demo that much. What I will say is I liked Final Fantasy 16, for instance, and I did enjoy the combat in there, although it still had issues. I did enjoy 16. So for you guys, if you have played it, what are you more attuned to when it comes to those games? Final Fantasy 16 style or this?
No, I Final Fantasy 7 is the first remake. It's the first Final Fantasy I beat. I'm not a Final Fantasy guy by nature. Even 16, I think I don't like the battle system that much. It's just something it's not clicking with me. That being said, though, like Final Fantasy 7 remake. First off, play remake. If you're stumbling into Rebirth, you're not gonna understand what's going on in the slightest. So go play remake first, and then get yourself caught up. The demo overall, I liked it. It's like, oh yeah, I'm coming back to the place that I know these characters. I forgot Sephiroth's theme is like fucking stellar. Like all this stuff. Like I'm remembering how much I liked that game because it has been 4 years. It hasn't just been a long weekend. And it's I tend to forget how much I enjoyed that game because Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us 2 came out afterwards. So like getting reacquainted with the characters is great. I didn't mind the dialogue. There was like some things I got a kick out of. I wasn't a big fan of the environment. It is a huge step up from remake. But I hear the open world section is where it's at. Like that part that we saw is the flashback, is very much like a wider space. And then once you're out of that,
that's interesting because from the reviews that I pulled, it seemed like the open world was a pretty consistent negative that people had.
Oh, negative. Yeah. So for me, I
pretty much all the reviews that I read said that it was bloated.
Oh, okay, fair enough. And to be quite frank, I think I read like 3 or 4 things about Rebirth. I'm very much trying to stay away from it, but like, yeah, I'm interested to see those locales of how they may or may not have pulled it off, because I feel the same. Yeah. Like the first level is like, okay, like this is a fine location, but like let me see some colors that isn't like dark green, brown, and beige. So yeah, I dig it. I'm excited for it. It's not like still Final Fantasy isn't, and I think I'm come to grips with it, of it never being like something I'm over the moon excited about like my co-host Kyle is. He is so in. Me on the other hand, I just can't. I can't get on that type of hype level for it, but I'm excited. Again, I'm at the point where I'm like, just don't tell me anything. I'm just gonna come into it. I'm gonna
come into it raw. I get you.
Exactly.
Gross. Gross.
Pause.
I
I'll
was
be
a
right back.
Final
I want to see what's
Fantasy
up with this
guy.
pup.
For the longest time, like I played clear through PS1, PS2, played all those Final Fantasies, and then I fell off at 13 because it was really bad. And then I played 13 too, and it was still really bad, even though people were like, no, this one's better. And it was better, but it was still really bad. Tried to get into 14, couldn't get into it. Didn't play 15 at launch, played the like fixed version that came out later, and I was like, that's pretty okay. And then hated 16 with a passion. Really hate 16. Think that game's awful. But the 7 remake I thought was really good. My biggest concern is that at the end, they, without spoiling, at the end of it, they basically go, hey, this has been a pretty faithful remake of the story with a couple of things expanded on. We might not be doing that in the sequel. We might just be going our own direction. And so I'm curious to see how much the story differs. There are some things that probably have to differ, just because there are certain things that I don't think really work in a modern setting. But I am curious to see how it works out, because I haven't been really happy with Final Fantasy in a long time. So if them taking this one really good Final Fantasy and breaking it up into 3 separate games turns out to have been a bad idea, which I think a lot of people kind of assumed it would be, I'll be upset about it, because the first one was genuinely really good. I really enjoyed the first one.
So you feel like they've kind of nickel and dime people, possibly? That's possible.
I don't know about, well, maybe. I mean, it's definitely like a money play. You can see by how many different Final Fantasy VII products they're putting out that they're definitely trying to like milk that for money. But I don't think breaking it into 3 parts is necessarily like for money. I think they looked at it and they're like, this is a big story. We want to break this up into a bunch of things. But then when you look at, basically, I think they just ended the first one too soon. I think that they should have gone a lot further with the first one, because I think I know where this one is going to end, where Rebirth is going to end. And it's going to be like this whole, if this whole second game is like effectively the second act of the original Final Fantasy VII, it's going to be like 70 hours of wheel spinning with not a whole lot of payoff. And so they're going to have to change some things, or it's not going to feel satisfying in the story at all. So I'm curious to see what they do, because they're going to literally have to do some changes.
Yeah, I see. Okay. And you, like me, you played through 16 as well. What would you say between 16 and 7's 7 remakes combat did you enjoy more?
7 remakes combat is better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to give it a chance.
Because 16's combat is just, you basically just mash whatever attack you want to do until your superpowers are up, and then you mash those out to do your actual damage. And that's what that whole combat really breaks down to at the end of the day.
I see. Okay.
I really didn't like pretty much any aspect of 16. I thought that game was, the music was good. Everything else was kind of
I thought the music was good. The voice acting was really solid, in my opinion.
I disagree.
Oh, you didn't like it? I loved it.
I think
what's his name?
Clive
Ben?
voice actor. Oh yeah, is he Ben Starr?
You didn't like him, huh?
Awful. No, I think he's a really cool guy. I think he's a really cool guy, and I
dope.
think he's really hot. And I know we love him on TikTok because he's really hot. And he's probably talented other places, but boy howdy did he not prove it in 16.
I thought maybe it's the game
overacting.
Maybe it's the Game of Thrones fan in me, but I thought dude was pretty dope.
I see. I was also a Game of Thrones fan, but I kind of felt like he was just like
handing
like
it
a
up.
great value Jon Snow. Like it was just not good. There was one character who did a really good job. I forget his name because it was weird, but he was the guy who had the lightning. Forget his name, but he was genuinely really good. He's not in a ton of the game, but he was really good.
What is his damn name? They were called. That's the name he used for a while, like, which I didn't really.
It was Sidolphus because he was supposed to be the Sid of that game.
That's right.
But I don't remember what his name was.
Oh, okay, the actor you're saying,
yeah.
But
he was really good.
I enjoyed all of them. His voice sounded badass, by the way. But yeah, I liked them all, man. I thought they did a solid job with the voice acting. It's like night and day for me, because I heard that, and then I heard the one on Final Fantasy Rebirth demo. I was like, ugh, what is this?
Yeah.
But
the Final Fantasy VII remake, and I assume Rebirth, I haven't played the demo, is definitely a lot more like cartoony and like a yuck.
Yeah, it is.
Which you know, is also questionable in its own right. But I feel like that's more true to what Final Fantasy is as a series. Whereas 16 being this like, it felt like Final Fantasy in its hot topic phase, and it was not good.
Mm.
It was like, I wear a studded belt and have fake clip-on ear gauges. I'm tough, mom. I was like, sure you are, honey.
Well, I guess. Well, okay. Well, I guess I need to get to the remake game and play that finally. I never played it. I held off because I was thinking one day they'll finally bring it to Xbox like they said they would all along, and nope, it never happened. I have to get over that and just buy it on the PlayStation and get it done. But speaking of Final Fantasy and moving to our news roundup, Danny, what's the news looking like for Rebirth? What's the reviews looking like?
Pretty good. So it's got a 93 on Metacritic right now, which is really, really high. I pulled a couple of quotes here. So Michael Damiani from Easy Allies gave it a 95 and says, as big of an impact as Remake made upon its release, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth eclipses it in nearly every way. It improves upon just about every facet of its predecessor by introducing incredible new mechanics, an unbelievable world to explore, countless charming mini-games, another out-of-this-world soundtrack, some of the most memorable characters, and a fascinating story that will leave you on the edge of your seat. This is truly a must-play game for anyone who loves RPGs. Whereas Robert Ramsey from Push Square gave it an 80 and says, if you can push through the tedium of its open world, busy work, and padded storytelling, there's a great sequel at the heart of Final Fantasy VII. It retains all of Remake's most important strengths, but builds on an already brilliant combat system and excels at showcasing an iconic RPG setting. If you enjoyed Remake and you have fond memories of the PS1 original, you'll likely love every minute of Rebirth's memorable, character-focused adventure.
Okay.
So,
all right. Well, and it's right now it's sitting at where is it sitting at an open
93.
93.
Oh, I didn't see open.
I'm guessing it's probably a 93 or not, if not a 94.
It's probably about the same. Yeah, they're usually pretty close.
Yep. That's pretty impressive.
It's really impressive. I think the game's going to be really good.
It is.
I'm excited to give it a shot.
Yeah.
But I just don't have the heart for it right now because I know it's going to be long as hell, and I just finished Baldur's Gate 3 finally, and I just don't have time.
Isn't that game perfect?
No.
Oh my god. Dude, I love Baldur's Gate 3 so much.
I would have loved it if it had allowed me to love it, but it didn't because it broke all the time, and also it was just so meandering for so long and took so long to accomplish anything of value.
Yeah, Act 3 meanders a little bit.
I think Act 1 is the biggest culprit of meandering, actually.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
Act 3 has some problems with pacing where it's like, we're at the city and there's an earthquake and like things are going bad constantly all the time. We're in a rush against the clock, but also, you want to help out this zombie? He smells bad. You want to help out with this guy?
And that's in between them not like trying to sex you up or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, and like I understand why Act 1 was so meandering is because like they wanted to start you at level 1 so that you could learn the mechanics. Because if they just dropped you in at level 5, where I think they actually wanted the game to start, then you'd be like, well, I'm level 5 in D&D, help, I've never rolled a dice before. And you'd be really confused. But I feel like they should have made Act 1 matter at all, because so much of Act 1 is just like, and then I'm gonna go hang out with this dog, and then there's an owl bear over here, and just, can this guy fix my thing? Nope. Can that guy fix my thing? Nope. And just like so much of just like almost nothing in Act 1 has anything to do with the overarching story outside of picking up your companions.
Oh wow.
Which you do in the first like 5 hours.
Okay. I still have to get into
with
that.
everything you just said, but fair enough.
I still have to get into that.
A 2-hour pod, you know.
Yeah, it'll be a long discussion if we get into that. I was going to say I do want to still get into that, but you hit on something that I was thinking about the other day, and that's time, right? Because right now, I'm sure you all saw this, by the way, and those in the chat, if you've seen it, how do you feel? Shadow of the Erdtree, Elden Ring. How did that look to you guys? How are you guys feeling about that?
I feel like I need to take at least a week off of work around that time.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm definitely going to play it, but I don't know when, because again, I'd probably want to start a new character, and that's going to take a long time. And I just cannot jump into another 100-hour game right now.
That's where I'm at with it, Dan.
Well, that's why I'm not going to restart a new character. I'm just going to keep rolling with the one I have.
I'm pretty gross. I'm gonna roll my samurai character that I love, that I could have just been, with my 80-hour first playthrough. The Elden Ring. So here's the thing: Elden Ring's a perfect video game. I'm not gonna take any slander or hear nothing of the sort otherwise. It is my favorite game of all time. I think it is the greatest game.
Oh
ever
wow,
made.
of all
A
time.
game that I
Huh?
love of all
It is a
time.
very
Nothing-
It's
good
probably in my top 5 or
yeah,
six with
it's incredible. It's a game that I love so much. I platinum twice within that same year.
Mhm.
So going between God of War Ragnarok and beating God of War Ragnarok and loving every second of it, even the climbing portions and the cave, crawling. I wanted to see. I'm like, okay, so now let's do Elden Ring, and then again, and then I played the PlayStation 4 version to get that second plat. And yeah, I was just like, no, yeah, this is pretty much it. It's Elden Ring. It's game of the year. That being said, though, Shadow of the Erd Tree. What did I think about that 3-minute trailer? Well, I'll tell you what. I went on the Bandai Namco store. I bought the collector's edition, and then I bought that goddamn helmet. And now I'm looking for a Millennia helmet on Etsy to match, so I can have my own little Elden Ring corner. That's what I'm thinking about right now.
That helmet was pretty
Um,
badass. I will acknowledge, and
Yeah,
I
man.
love me. Yeah, so I will say, seeing it for one, I knew with all this time they had to cook, it would likely be really expansive. It wouldn't be half-assed, and they
It's
did.
definitely gonna be long as hell.
Oh yeah, it looks like it's a whole new game added on. It's not. It doesn't seem like, oh, here's just a little DLC. No, this is a full expansion. It looks like,
Yeah.
and
And,
know,
and
yeah,
from Software's track record and pedigree of DLCs,
mhm.
Yeah.
usually it's their best work. So
yeah,
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah. No, that's not a lie. And that's the one thing too. I think it's kind of underrated with a company that can put this much time into just expanding on everything and not really rebuilding systems and worrying about the graphics and everything. Like I wouldn't mind seeing more games do this. I mean, we saw it also with Cyberpunk, but just these big add-ons. You take everything that was cool. You don't have to worry about reinventing the wheel to get people to spend another $70 for the sequel, for a full sequel. You just kind of build up on it. And you're right that the in the past, From Software's DLCs are right up there with the main campaign. Some of them are better, and
Mhm.
some of the most memorable boss fights are part of DLC content. They just take everything they learned and they just keep mastering that. And there's a chance this could end up being the DLC of the generation. So,
I wonder if it could possibly enter into Game of the Year discussion. Do you think they would ever cross into doing something like that with an expansion?
it'd be an ongoing game.
Maybe ongoing.
Yeah.
What you mean? Ongoing beating Sea of Thieves on PlayStation? You mean?
That's right.
Well, I mean, they made the statement last year that a DLC was enough to get Cyberpunk into that category, so I don't see why this shouldn't count.
Yeah, that's a
Right.
fair
That-
point. Fair point.
I think it's a bad category for it, but at the same time,
Yeah.
I mean, who cares?
they set
the
they
award-
set the bad
award
precedent
shows-
already. Yeah.
Yeah, the award show is kind of a mess right now. So
Yeah.
when it comes to the awards, it is at least. But yeah, I think there's a chance something like that probably needs to be recognized. If it's going to be as substantial as the game, you might as well recognize it as such, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
They could easily just add best DLC and keep it really simple. I would have said expansion, but just keep it DLC. Say best DLC or added content, or however they want to add the words to make it sound nice. Something like that would be, I think, fair enough. Because you've had previous winners would have been somebody like CD Projekt Red with The Witcher 3. They should have won something for that expansion because those DLCs were just top of the line, as good if not better than the main game at some points. But I was gonna say, I looked at my time. I have 12 days, 9 hours and 22 minutes, which is roughly 300 hours in Elden Ring. So
that's great.
that's part of the thing for me. It's like going back to what you said, Danny. It's time. We got the Erd Tree coming out. We have Dragon's Dogma 2. Fellas, where are we going to get the time to play all these different games that's coming out?
That's been the problem. Like that is legitimately a thing, and I'm now to the point because I do love to try different things and appreciate all of the great content out there. I am glad that I'm not a completionist though, because if I was one of those people that needed to like, uh, get 100% achievements or platinums or whatever, that would drive me crazy. There's just no way. There's no way to do that and really try all the things I want to try. Honestly, like if not another game came out for the rest of the year after Elden Ring, I'd probably be good for the next 2 years, just with backlog at least. And that is
Agreed.
becoming an issue. I I do wish there was more shorter games. More of these things.
Hmm.
'Cause I bet you Dragon's Dogma is also going to be a big time sink. We know Final Fantasy's
Exactly.
a time sink.
That-
Baldur's Gate,
yeah.
yeah, you guys are talking about it. I'm in Act 3, and now it's like, okay, I got to figure out what I was doing when I go back to that. I still got, Cyberpunk that I've restarted 3 times, and I just, because you get lost, and then you go back and you're like, what was I doing again? It's like with some of these big games.
Mhm.
Maybe there would be some things next generation that could help with that, where you get a summary of every game you played, like up to this point, you've done this, and this, and I don't know, something to kind of help me just pick up where I left off. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, there's just way too many things, especially for us. Anybody with a full-time job and kids, not a easy
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
to
Balance.
balance out.
Absolutely. But what else do we have in the news, Danny? And by the way, I wanted to bring this up.
Yes.
I don't want to drag it on too long because I know we had to get through this to get to the main topic. But did any of you guys, as wrestling fans or had any wrestling love, did you guys
Yep.
see the Rock's promo recently in Salt Lake City?
No.
Are you talking about the herpes one?
Oh yes, that one.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
What did you feel about it, Danny? Because I know you don't agree. I can hear the yeah.
No,
That's
it's
it.
just like I like The Rock and I'm glad he's back, but I'm just like, if this ruins Cody's story, I swear to God, I will kill a man.
But what
I
I
will
I
do
love
a
what The
murder.
Rock did though. See, because he mocks people and he said, "What's Cody's story?" He said, "Just like you guys sat on your fat asses on the
I mean, it's
toilet,"
a-
and he said, "We want Cody to finish his story. Cody got to finish his story."
I mean, it's a better story than any movie The Rock's ever been in. So I guess he wouldn't know, but
Hey, leave Rocky Maivia alone. But no, I thought it was one of his best promos, man. Honestly, he's bringing a lot of heat to this situation. And I'm using wrestling terms, by the way, the heat.
yeah.
But I'm starting to feel wrestling. I'm starting to feel back in the fold a bit with this. It's brought me back because you got Versace Rock coming out there. You got the Versace.
It's a Hollywood Rock, but yeah.
Hollywood slash Versace. See, it's a mixture though, right? Because it's like Hollywood, but he's also got the Attitude Era Versace kind of thing going with the vest and and the swagger and how he talked. Because even Hollywood Rock was kind of lighthearted. Attitude Era Rock was more hard, kind of how he spoke towards people, which is more akin to how he was speaking.
But Attitude Era Rock also only referred to himself in the third person and like
True.
had a very weird accent that he put on every promo. Whereas now he's just like, no, I've changed my brand. I'm a human now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think we all appreciate it.
I love it, man. I mean, that night at least he was speaking in third person, classic Rock style.
Yeah. For
just-
some reason,
yeah.
people are like, I don't know if he's still going to be able to wrestle. And like,
I don't know why they
I don't
did that.
understand that. But I also, at the other point of it, is like, he's never been the most like amazing technical wrestler. Like he tells a story in the ring and that's what his talent is.
Yeah.
He's never been like he's not doing anything off the top rope. He's not really doing any particularly amazing moves. Like I know we call his elbow drop the most electrifying
Move in sports entertainment.
move in sports entertainment, but like that was always supposed to be a joke. Like he started doing that move to mock somebody else because
Oh,
he thought
yeah.
it looked boring.
Yeah. True.
And then it just kind of took off. So like he was never the kind of wrestler where it's like, oh my god, I'm so impressed by all the moves he's doing. Like no, he's a good storyteller. That's always been his thing.
He's fairly athletic. I'll give him that.
He's
like,
very athletic.
Yeah, he
but
did some athletic
he doesn't. He's not like
things.
doing Jeff Hardy shit. Or
Agreed.
nothing. Like,
Agreed.
you know,
I think it's like you
him
said.
being
He's
slightly older isn't going to stop him from being able to do exactly the same.
I agree.
Amount of things he did before.
Maybe the kip up, as they would call it, when you flip up and land on your feet. Like he used to do that at times, but I don't know if he would be doing that now at his age.
Yeah.
But maybe like he definitely had athleticism, but I agree with you that his strongest element in the ring was his storytelling, how he would sell moves, how things of that nature. And he's entertaining. Rock was very entertaining. So, but everybody has their own niche, right? He's not a Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is a showman all through and through.
100%.
Right. So, but I will say, man, I think I love the way they did this. I don't know if it was always the case that this was a shoot.
It wasn't.
I don't think it was, right? Yeah.
No.
They
they got backlash and they went, oh,
that's
oh.
hey, credit to them for being on the fly fixing that and saying, and I don't think
Yeah.
you would have had to your point when you pointed out to me that Triple H is the one behind booking and taking care of these things. I don't think we
Yeah.
would have had what we had it not been for him being in a position. Vince probably would have tried to keep it as it is and let The Rock take it
Vince
over.
famously believes that the fans don't know what they want. So he would have absolutely 100% stuck to whatever story he was going to tell.
I see.
And it probably still would have been good. I mean, Rock Roman is a good match that everyone wants to see. They just
True.
didn't want to see it this year.
True.
You
true.
know?
Yeah.
It's like we're invested in something else. It'd be like if you watched like the first two movies in the original Star Wars trilogy, and then they were like, hey, instead of putting out the third movie, we're going to put out Spaceballs. And you're like, I love Spaceballs, but it's not what I'm looking for.
I was just about to say I love Spaceballs. May the shorts be with you. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
That was a great movie.
That's a classic, right? Hey, calm the beach. And then he's like,
We ain't found shit.
we ain't found shit.
Yeah.
I watched that movie so many times.
That's a
when I
classic.
was a kid.
It's
Yeah.
a classic, man. But what else do we have in the news? I didn't want to deviate us too far. I know if I get into it, we'll be on that thing for an hour or so talking about that.
Hey, the Dice Awards happened. They were pretty good. The big winners, actually, the only games that won more than a single award were Baldur's Gate 3 that took away, what was it, 5? Yeah, it took away 5, and Spider-Man took away 6.
Nice.
Which I agree with almost all of the ones that they won. I don't think I would have given Spider-Man Best Original Music when like Alan Wake was right there, but that's fine.
Yeah.
They did really well. You watch the Dice Awards and it's very much that thing where you're like, oh, this is what an awards show is when it's not about making ad revenue. Which is to say, it's not the most flashy thing. Their production's not great, and it starts at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the biggest proof that this is just about celebrating video games and not about like making money or
It's the
anything like that.
anti-Keeley, if you will.
It is the absolute anti-Keeley. It doesn't have the showmanship, and it also doesn't have the capitalism. It's literally just like, we're here to celebrate. They did a really great piece for Koji Kondo entering the Hall of Fame, which
Nice.
super deserved. What an amazing talent. If they wanted to improve the Dice Awards to make it more watchable, which I think they probably should, just make those graphics when they're showing the nominees look good, and maybe actually show the games, and then have it start a couple hours earlier. And I don't know, maybe get a different host, because Greg Miller feels like he has gone off the rails. He's
Greg
like,
Miller.
they can't get rid of me. I've been here for 8 years. You can't stop me.
Greg Miller, I heard him. He threw out the reference to who was that? To Embracer. I saw that.
Yeah.
clip. That was hilarious. I was like, damn, he doesn't give a damn. But
You really don't.
yeah,
But
I've heard
that's
praise for
exactly
him,
what
though. Yeah.
what's his dick? Ricky Gervais did at the Golden Globes, and
Oh,
they didn't
yeah.
get to come back. So
Oh,
maybe,
that was legendary right there.
unfortunately, maybe Greg won't be coming back either. But we'll see.
The guys weren't laughing. They was like looking at
They
him.
really,
like,
yeah.
yeah. The audience laughed, but like in a shocked, like, ooh, kind of way.
They were like, "Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?"
Are you sure about that?
But yeah, it's a good show.
Yeah.
I really enjoy watching the Dice Awards every year.
Yeah. I have to watch it more. I know we had our boys at the ILP. They were there represented. So shout out to ILP, the Iron Lords, and Cog, and all of the guys, King David and Addict and everybody. So and Paris, I believe, was there as well as a presenter at one point. So shout out to Paris and all of those guys too.
Really nice suit on Paris.
Yeah, you know what? It was really nice and like had the little like pattern design on it.
It was like a
nice.
purple storm, like a
Yeah.
lightning storm.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was,
really nice.
pretty cool.
Big
It's
fan
pretty
of it.
cool. Yeah. I saw him represented on Twitter. He posted about it. But yeah, shout out to you guys for a good show and do your thing at the Dice Awards.
And know that if you are a presenter at a video game award show, I will be judging what you're wearing. Because when I was watching the Keeleys, one of the number one things that bothered me is I was like, some of these people just came straight from work. Some of these people are wearing like a bomber jacket and jeans, and I don't understand.
Yeah. I'll give it to Keely. He gets a little fly
He dresses
nowadays.
nice.
Yeah,
He
he gets a
dresses
little
nice.
fly. Yeah. I like the little mix with some of the gym shoes. Some of them look pretty cool with it. I like that.
Yeah.
But what else did we have in the news?
Hey, there was a Nintendo Direct. We're going to talk about, more detail about some of the things that were announced, namely that Grounded and Pentiment were going to Xbox. There wasn't a ton of other like really big exciting announcements. We got a remake announcement for Epic Mickey, and those PS2 Battlefront games are going to get re-released on all consoles, but especially Switch apparently. The only thing that came out of that seemed to surprise a lot of people was like, oh my god, they added new characters to it, and I was like, no, those were DLC that no one remembers existed because came out at a time when people didn't know that DLC was a thing. But Kid Fisto and Asajj Ventress were already in that game. Also, Shin Megami Tensei 5 is coming to Switch and an Xbox, which is nice. I think that there were rumors that like all the SMT games were going to go to other platforms, so I'm excited to see that happen because 5 is quite possibly my least of the favorite of the SMT games, but still a good one. And then the only other game that I saw on there that I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to play that was Unicorn Overlord, a game that looks really good and has the worst name. Just the worst name.
That name alone was like, no, thank
So
you.
bad.
When I heard
It's
the
like,
name,
are we doing?
Unicorn Overload, I'm like, nope, don't want that. Yeah, that's a very weird name. I one thing I will know, I noted, and I'm sure if some of you all have seen it, and it's become more problematic for Xbox as time goes. And I saw some really clever remarks to this. Is that a lot of these games we saw being announced, not even just from Nintendo's Direct, but in general on Twitter or whatever, they didn't have an Xbox release. And a lot of people have made complaints about that, whereas Microsoft is giving away games. It's like, can you at least secure some third party?
That's always been a problem for them.
Yeah. I won't get directly into it now. I'll save that for our later part of this discussion.
Yeah. Well, the two that I saw people complaining about the most, I was like, these are such small games. I can't imagine why anyone would care.
That's that's kind of like my point, and you'll probably dive into that later. But there's a good reason why they're not on Xbox. I hate to say this, but have you guys seen any of the sales of these games? They, for as much airtime as they get when they skip the Xbox, when they do arrive, they literally you can probably count them on two hands. Maybe you have to use your fingers and toes occasionally, but they literally do not. They usually don't sell, and obviously that's been a cycle, right? Like over time, these Microsoft wasn't really working with Japanese developers early Xbox One. Gamers figured out that if they wanted that content, they went to the PlayStation. Even those gamers that do buy Xboxes now, if they like that content, they're used to buying it on PlayStation. Even if they have multiple consoles, they're not going to turn to the Xbox for that stuff. And so I think that's just the landscape of it is set. And where consoles are and how stubborn digital gamers are in terms of like moving what their primary ecosystem is, I don't see really any realistic way that you're going to change that. Because even if Microsoft dumped all this money into locking down some Japanese exclusives and marketing deals and all that, it's not a growing thing. And the old gamers are stubborn. The new gamers don't play anything other than Fortnite and Minecraft and Madden, and so. And Call of Duty. So like you're really like the time to fight over those types of that market is kind of past. And at the end of the day, like I think what Microsoft needs to make sure they do is at least work with these publishers and developers to get the big stuff, to get the big Japanese content, because you at least want to have some presence there for the diversity of nothing else. And also we know, like, even if they don't get day one Game Pass, there's that delayed Game Pass. And that's a way to build that audience over time and expand it to the West. But and I think that's really going to be their play. And right now, I think Final Fantasy and Genshin are the developer for Genshin. Those are the two big ones missing. All these other ones, though, the ones that people keep mentioning over and over on Twitter, you add them all up all together, it's probably less than 1% of like consumer spending. And on Xbox, it'd be even less than that. It would be, we've seen some of the leaked numbers from Capcom. Like, when those small games just don't do anything there. They're
Yeah.
they're there for show, and there's no money made off of them. And gamers, they're not really they're talking about them, they're not buying them. And I just think it's a lot of it is it's like this thing that people get offended out of principle, but at the end of the day, it's a business, and it makes sense for those things to keep skipping Xbox for now. Until they expand into like streaming, where maybe now they're in like a lot of homes where where they have no console presence. I do think that there's something to be said for that, and I think that's why they are trying to build up these relationships, and maybe why they're getting the Squares and getting Sega to Sega's doing Play Anywhere right now, which is kind of odd when last generation Persona and Yakuza used to skip the platform, and Shingate can't say it, but you know which one I'm talking about.
Shin Megami.
That one.
The fact is, it has gotten better.
Yeah, it has gotten
And
better.
I think Bad, what you're saying is right. It's like at the end of the day, first off, I mentioned this on the trophy room. One of my listeners was like, actually, I'm excited for Gundam 4 or whatever, but like, I'm like, no one's pining for,
Exactly.
Monster Hunter and,
well, because
Monster Hunter stories.
And it's like they don't sell well on Xbox. I'm like, some of these games don't sell well anywhere.
That's true too. Yeah,
they're small niche games, and these develop keep going, Bad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
one of the things that I think people fail to realize is that there's a reality outside your bubble, and there are things that happen and analytics run on the back end that we're unaware of. So like, I very much implore people to look at our, oh my God, something just started. Oh, there you go. Sorry, Spotify frightened me for a second. They're like, we updated, now all your music's back. No, I implore everybody to go listen to our Sam Barlow interview where he talked about bringing his game immortality to Xbox, and how he was even in the back doors of it. People are like, why are you putting it there? Because that your type of game doesn't typically sell on Xbox. And it's not like them going, why would you do that? Boo Xbox. It's like the numbers show that Xbox players don't play the game that you are putting out here.
Right.
So like sometimes it's just like the type of game. It's like, yeah, I bet stories is great, but is it a type of game that audience is going to consume? Probably someone in the background did the numbers and went, probably not, because the trends are pointing downward here, and they just didn't port it. It's just that simple. I think people forget that Xbox having Persona day one on Game Pass is ginormous. Them having ReFantazio or whatever the next Atlas game's gonna be, it's like that's also huge. Shin Megami Tensei, I believe, is also coming to Xbox, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 5's going there, and there's rumors that they're going to do like Nocturne.
They have made strides,
and I think it's the internet, it's the console war narrative. That it's tiring. It really is. I'm gonna be very flippant when I say that nobody cares about those two games the way that some people are making it out to.
No, they really don't. But the other thing is, like, it's not a situation where Xbox is going to flip a switch and then like, oh, every single game that launches in Japan is going to also launch on Xbox in the States, because it's not just like we're avoiding Xbox thing. It's usually, in a lot of cases, it's also we have to localize this game sort of thing. Like, there's a ton of games that don't leave Japan because localization is expensive.
Right.
And then on top of that, these bigger ones that they're getting, that does over time change the narrative of like, hey, these types of games don't perform well on Xbox, because it's like, well, they don't perform well on Xbox because there isn't an audience for them here. There isn't an audience for them here because there aren't those games here. So the more of the bigger ones you get, where you do get the Personas and you do get hopefully the Final Fantasies at some point or whatever,
you start there, right?
You build up an audience for people who are like, you know what, I do want to play more JRPGs. I do want to play more visual novels or whatever. I want to play this weird Gunpla game or whatever. It's like you have to build that audience to justify people putting money into porting it, and that's what they're doing. It's not going to be a thing that happens overnight.
No,
but I think they're doing a pretty good job of it.
Well, and you bring up a really good point, and you think about like just gaming history. Usually it's that big tentpole, game that has more of a mainstream appeal in a genre that will drive interest for maybe the next tier, right? And we remember like there was a day where first-person shooters were not the genre that you played on console, but Halo kind of helped popularize it, and then Call of Duty, and then suddenly everybody was trying to make a shooter, and I think that like it's a little bit of a different scenario, but I think there's something similar there where you start off with the best of the best. You start off with the Personas, the big ones, the Final Fantasies, the Personas, Yakuzas, like the biggest names, and the Monster Hunter Worlds, things like that. And then you kind of work your way. If you can gain traction there, and people like fall in love with some of those games, then you can start to sell the next tier of that. And I do think, to what Badbit was saying, they have made progress there, and I do think that it is a process. The interesting thing, and I think that gets overlooked, because a lot of all this talk about Xbox in general is about the console, and I think what maybe is being missed in that is the console is almost becoming an accessory or just an extension of the ecosystem, and the support for the ecosystem long term is going to be like, if you're going to support us, you're going to be on the streaming, you're going to be on our app, you're going to be on our PC store, and we're going there, and we're probably going to be there a lot sooner than people think, and like in the next 2-3 years. I think that's going to start to show itself, and that is why you heard them talk a lot about Play Anywhere, and that is why just I don't know, a couple months ago maybe it was, one of the executives, it might have been Sarah Bond, came out and said something on Twitter, which I know got a lot of laughs, but I understood what she was talking about. She was saying that Japanese developers are going to need us to grow and expand. And what she was referring to is not that you need to be on Xbox. It's like, hey, we still have a presence in the West, and we are building out to a reach beyond where consoles can go. And, we can throw you on Game Pass, and there's no risk for people to try you there. And Sega, even in their financial statements last year, came out and said something about, hey, Game Pass has been good for us. Like their sales improved once they got some exposure there. And I think there is something about, the fact that there isn't that base there. You can build it out just through exposure, low risk exposure with the Game Pass type of offering, but also, in the future to be streaming. And I think all those things are going to be connected in the ecosystem. So yeah, they are making progress. In the meantime, these smaller games that are coming out, if there isn't a Game Pass deal lined up for them now or in the, down the road, they're not there yet, right? So the audience isn't necessarily built up. So it's no offense, it's just business, and most people complaining we're not going to buy it. So yeah, I agree with that bit there. It's like kind of just move on from that conversation. They are making progress, and I think that not only are they making progress, they're giving us value. They dropped a lot of really good games on Game Pass for no extra cost. The Personas and the what was the other one that just released? Like it just came out a moment ago on Game Pass. No, there was what was Tales of Arise.
Yeah.
Just dropped. Like those weren't the things I subscribed to, but because they get put there, I've been checking them out, right? Expanding my awareness. Like, and you know what? Sometimes I do find some things like, oh, this is actually got a good battle system. This in the meantime, yeah, the two things don't correlate. I saw a lot of correlation between, you're porting these games and things are skipping you. Those two things don't even relate. Like if Microsoft made 20 Hi-Fi Rushes exclusive, it's not going to do anything to build up that audience for these smaller Japanese games. If they made Call of Duty exclusive and sold 10 million more consoles, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to sell one more Japanese RPG, right? So like those are different segments, and I think that's the thing people struggle to understand with that stuff.
Yeah. So, Danny, how many more bits of news roundup do we have? 2 more? Okay, we got 2 more.
They're really short.
Okay, cool. We'll move to this the main topics. Get you guys' thoughts on what else do we have.
Just these last two. They're both not directly related to video games, but to greater nerd culture. Hey, we got a cast for the Fantastic Four. One of them we already knew. Pedro Pascal's playing Reed Richards.
Don't like
I'm
that.
sure he'll do fine.
I don't
Yeah,
like that.
he wouldn't have been my choice, but he's a good actor, so like whatever.
He's a great actor. I just wish they would have given us. Why didn't they just stick with my man from what you call it, John Krasinski?
Oh, because Wanda turned him into spaghetti, didn't you see?
Yeah, but that was only like one universe version of him, though. She did. She absolutely
Yeah,
chopped
dude,
him
I
up.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why they just didn't stick to him, because he looked close enough to Reed.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really get that.
I don't know. Vanessa Kirby is going to be playing Sue Storm.
She looks good. She looks good as her. I saw her.
She's great. Yeah, I haven't seen her in a ton of movies, so I don't actually know if she can act. I think the last thing I saw her in was Hobbs and Shaw, which is not, I'm sure, her best effort.
Yeah.
But she was fine in that. Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things season 4 is playing Johnny B. Bad.
Johnny Storm.
I love that guy. I'm sure he'll do a great job. The combination of these two castings does make me think that the Storm family is going to be English, because like they're both British, and I wonder if they'll just be like, screw it, do an accent, because like why bother? Who cares?
Yeah.
And then Eben Moss-Baccarin is playing the Thing, which is great because he was he was been a really popular fan casting. He's an incredibly popular actor who well, not popular, an extremely liked actor who doesn't get casting a lot because he kind of looks like a rock monster, and they're like, oh
Does he? He looks like
we got him. He's like he's got kind of like a rough, like yeah.
He's perfect for the role. If you've seen The Bear, and like how angry he gets, it's like he's gonna be fine.
I'm looking forward.
He's got
to
the
it.
attitude down.
And we finally cast an actual Jewish guy to play the most famous Jewish superhero.
Ain't
that some shit?
That's solid. Yeah, it's clobbering time. Yeah, like I'm happy for that part. I have never seen this guy before. I need to watch The Bear, by the way.
He's good. He was.
Maybe
Well, you probably
here in
did actually
Chicago.
see him before because he was in. Oh God, that Star Wars show. Which Star Wars show is that? He was in Andor.
I haven't watched Andor.
Bruh.
I know.
Yeah,
I haven't watched it, and I heard nothing but praise for that show.
it's really good. It's a really good show.
Got to get on it. But I haven't seen them yet, as far as I know. But that's cool that they actually did get somebody Jewish for that. I will say I take umbrage with them if they're going to change these guys and make them British. It's like that one of their tags was that they were America's first family, like superhero family. Like, how do you change that?
They're already gonna have to change a lot though, because they're like, based on the promotional image, they're like, this is gonna be back in time in the 60s, and then some things gonna happen, and they're gonna end up in modern day probably, because like that's what almost certainly is gonna happen. Although if they just keep them separate, I might be actually more interested, to be honest.
Yeah.
But the rumor is that like their villain's gonna be Galactus, and so like with Galactus, there's space wumbo jumbo that could very easily be like, and here's Tom Holland. So I don't know.
If they're gonna have Galactus, then we have to see Silver Surfer, I would imagine, right?
Yeah. Well, that's just a rumor right now. It's not confirmed. And especially since Kang has recently been ousted from the universe.
I saw.
And the fun sort of like rumor that was going around with that was that they were going to replace him in the storyline with Doom. So maybe they'll fast track them to being a thing. I don't know. It feels like Marvel is in kind of a case of flux right now because they don't seem to have a whole lot of direction as to where they're going. So we're going to have to
start another
out what's going on.
universe. Yeah, that's really what they like.
Have a reset.
This MCU needs to. Yeah, there needs to be a hard reset. It's like, hey, this is one universe. Now we're gonna tell a story in another one. Like, it should be kind of that.
They can
They
move
could
to
do
the
the
ultimate.
Ultimates.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both
Well, I mean,
on the
that's
same
the
page.
rumor. Well, not the exact rumor, but the one of the rumors also is that they're going to do a Miles Morales movie soon enough, and that takes place in the Ultimates universe. So like they're already kind of potentially laying groundwork for that.
They can definitely move to the Ultimate Universe. I actually wouldn't have a problem with that because I love the Ultimate Universe as well, for however long it lasted. But that would be cool. I will say, as far as if they get, I guess, Dr. Doom, I'm hoping they're going to establish his origin here in this movie too. Who would they cast as him? And I believe like somebody like Mads Mikkelsen, he would be a solid choice for Doom, for Victor.
It would be good. He's already played a character in the MCU, so that might be problematic. It's never stopped them before, but
Right.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Another really popular fan casting for it was actually Henry Cavill, which I'm not against, but I think it'd be kind of weird.
I saw that.
Um,
I would be pretty pleased with that actually if they got Cavill. Because Doom
Yeah,
was supposed to be a handsome guy, so that makes sense.
Oh yeah, he's super attractive.
Statuesque. Henry Cavill definitely has that. And to have him who played Superman be, the evil dictator Doom, oh, that would be a crazy turnaround.
Yeah,
I would actually very much enjoy that.
I'd be all right with it. It would definitely be some whiplash, but I think I'd get over it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And what was our last bit of news?
Hey, y'all know Paramount Plus?
Yeah.
That streaming service that maybe only I am subscribed. Well, no, you must all be because you're watching the Halo show.
Nope. Nope. Other
Okay,
ways.
well, somebody's pirating. Someone's sailing the high seas, like PlayStation fans will soon.
Matey. No, actually, Xbox has a perk right now going on if you all are not aware.
Oh, well, then you still have Paramount. You just got it for free.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But I've been watching it a lot lately because I've been getting waist deep into Survivor. So, but it's genuinely one of my favorite streaming services at the moment. Is looking to combine with another service, which I'm also really for because I would like less of these, quite frankly. Apparently, ones that they've talked to are Peacock, Apple, and Max. Of those, I think Max would probably be the most powerful combination because then you would have the back catalog of Cartoon Network and the back catalog of Nintendo on the same or not Nintendo, Nickelodeon, on the same streaming service, which would be like, what? Here we go, baby.
Yeah. Good. Less of these, the better, man. I think we're all getting tired of subscription services.
Yeah,
It's becoming like cable.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it.
It really is.
It's awful.
Yeah.
And I did a podcast recently where we were doing a tier list for all the like pre-MCU Marvel movies. It's a lot of fun. But I was trying to go back and watch some of them because I had to go and find like Howard the Duck because I hadn't seen it in 30 years.
I loved Howard the Duck.
Movie.
I loved it.
Awful. It's really bad.
It was
I was
a
like,
cheesy movie, but I still loved it.
I was an
You just
excited
liked it because
kid.
that duck got her boobs out.
I mean,
I was excited because I knew it was from the guy that made Star Wars. I mean, when I was a kid, that's all.
Wars.
Star Wars.
When I was a kid, like I was so obsessed with Star Wars. I was like Star Wars 24/7.
Yeah.
And the fact that the person that made that was making a new movie, I was so excited, and that was not as good as Star Wars.
The reason I bring it up though is because I was trying to figure out what streaming service it was on, and I was like, okay, well, it's like that Disney owns that property now. Is it on Disney Plus? No. Okay, is it on Netflix? Maybe like that would make sense. And I couldn't get on Netflix because my sister pays for that, and they're like, you can't watch it on this TV. And then I was like, okay, so I'll look on Max, and I was like, no, it's not on here. But for some reason, Elektra is on here, and all of the X-Men movies are on Disney Plus except one of them. I think it was Last Stand, and that one is on Max for no reason. And it's like, can we just have less of these? Because I don't want to have to do a Google search of where is this thing before I go and watch it. Like, what? Just put it in the place that makes sense. Like, if you own it, just put it on your own service, I guess.
Yeah.
What?
Agreed.
Like, I can keep track of who owns the Marvel universe and know that it should be on Disney Plus. I shouldn't have to go to 6 different services to figure out who's got Howard. Where's my boy?
I will play a little bit of devil's advocate as somebody that grew up with cable and all the other stuff. I mean, there was a time where we, especially if you factor inflation, our cable bill. I mean, the cable bill was fucking it's like your mortgage payment.
Yeah.
At one point in time, and the thing is, like, you had cable. For me, it was like, well, for sports, and then maybe there was a couple channels, and then freaking the Food Network or whatever, like ESPN, and it was like a handful of things, and you're spending a fortune on it. And I feel like today it's like, well, first of all, my advice for people that, like, when they're like, oh, we got to have less of these, it's like, well, you don't need to subscribe to all of them, and you definitely don't need to subscribe to all of them at the same time. I think that's the other thing people don't think about. It's like, Sometimes it doesn't hurt to just go pick a service and binge, one of them or two of them, and then cancel it, and move on
Yeah.
to a different one.
Way too
But
expensive nowadays.
Well, it works
the
out.
shows are so good though. Like if I were gonna compare like the quality of like some of these TV shows versus the quality of like the best shows, I would say, like, even looking back, gosh, I don't know, 20, 30 years, like some of my favorite shows that used to be on just regular TV was like Lost or something like that. Like the production values you get in some of these shows is just it's insane compared
Yeah.
to what you would have had on.
Well, that's also partially because now instead of doing 24 episodes a season, they do 6.
Yeah. which is awesome when you got all this choice. I'd rather have the quality, right? Because you get more than enough quantity and variety, and like I'll go
but
to
the problem is you kind of get both, because
Yeah.
then people are like, "Hey, did you watch Wolfpack over on Paramount?" And I'm like, "No." Hey, did you watch Yellow Jackets on Amazon? No, I've never
So
heard of
good.
that. No one's ever heard of any of these shows.
Yeah.
Because every one of these services makes 4,000 6-episode
Mm.
first seasons of shows that never get a second season because
Yeah,
they
that's a
don't market
problem.
it and no one knows they
Right.
exist.
Yeah.
I would agree with you there, but then again, like even with TV, it was like a regular thing for shows to come out. But this is cool, and then you never see it past like episode 6 or something. I remember there was all kinds of shows that
Yeah.
as a nerd, I always liked the things that were going to get canceled. That's just how it was
Yeah.
back.
So-
in the day.
Well, but also in the cable days, if I was like, where can I watch Howard the Duck? I would just go to Blockbuster
Yeah.
and they would have it.
So you keep bringing up
No,
Howard the
they
Duck.
would.
Now it makes me think of the theme song. What was it? We call him Howard the Duck. Dun, dun, dun. No way to conceal it. I say all that because we need to move on, guys. Listen,
Oh, okay.
now
wrap it up.
as cheesy as that movie may have been, I still loved that movie as a kid.
That lady kissed a duck and it wasn't right.
It was bestiality, absolutely. But we
Oh, my goodness.
no way to conceal it. It was bestiality. But hey, we were young. We didn't know any better then.
Oh my goodness! I never thought about it like that, but yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for ruining everything.
Yeah.
Your favorite Star Wars maker gave you bestiality. Let that sink in, OBM.
No,
So listen,
Someone in Star Wars definitely slept with an animal like alien, and we're like halfway there already.
yeah,
Okay.
there you go. You just gotta accept it. You just gotta accept it. But no,
Maz Kanata, she's like, "Where's the Wookiee?" And well,
yeah. See, you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those two together presents a physics problem that I don't want to know the answer to.
well,
Yeah.
someone on Rule 34 does have the answer. My friend.
Absolutely, unfortunately, but listen, maybe fortunate for somebody. I don't know. Anyway, moving past that. So to get to our main topic, we have about 40 minutes roughly to go before we get out of here. I don't want to drag it on too long, but I do want to get you guys' thoughts on everything as far as concerning, and going just to the title of the show. Tonight's podcast title is "Sharing is Caring." Risk It in the chat says sharing is not caring, so I can take it that he's not appreciating the direction that we're going here with Xbox. But I do want to get you guys' thoughts on that. When it comes to, and shout out to my boy Starlight Terror, I see you in the chat. Shout out to Risk It and shout out to Kami. I see you, brother. Kami, if you all are not aware, he's on Twitter himself and shares a lot of news on games, as releases and scores and things like that. He has tons of followers, so I'm very honored for him to come through and give me some support here, give us some support here, if I will. But anyway, so tonight's topic again, it's about sharing is caring, and I mean we all know what's going on lately with Xbox now. Of course, the shadow of doubt has been removed, and a lot of our fans in the community of Xbox can stop turning on each other and biting each other's heads off. Hopefully, now that it is fully confirmed. I know, right?
No, I must fight.
no.
It's been
I'm only
wild.
here. I'm only on Twitter to watch everything burn.
Yeah,
I
well,
do. I do understand the Joker a little bit better, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's
you got a front row seat. I mean, because Twitter is where it's at for that. But it has been a really interesting few, I guess, weeks. Now that we, because Microsoft, of course, they came out and had their their podcast for the business update, and they told us, and Phil told us that there would be 4 games, and it was a lot of corporal speak, and it was a lot of double talk. And if anybody paid attention, there was no mention of, no, these won't ever come over there anymore. This will be the only 4. None of that happened. A lot of fanboys kind of ran with this, the only 4. No.
Yeah. No, I don't believe. So, okay. That whole presentation of theirs that they did, when I was watching it, I was like, I believe so little of what you're telling me. They were like, it's 4. It's definitely only 4. And I was like, the only 4 I'm hearing is 4 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real talk. So we were discussing behind the scenes last week of like, how do we cover that podcast? Like, should we do another like an emergency show if something huge drops? And then like, you know, we came to the conclusion of like, nah, just whatever, let sleeping dogs lie. Because after watching that podcast, and again, I'm a PlayStation guy. I'm looking at the chaos across the pond. So like, I truly don't understand like the ins and outs of the Xbox community because I don't follow all the circles. And on the podcast, we've had a big a joke, a new segment called Xbox. They lost Tim Dog. They might lose Globe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I love.
Yeah, he's
love
tutoring.
it's it's just when we listen to that podcast, it's like they just said a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
And it's the thing that aggravates me with Xbox for the total opposite reasons of why PlayStation aggravates me, as PlayStation under communicates. I have no idea what the hell is going on. They never talk to me. God forbid they let me purchase anything on PlayStation Direct. Like they don't talk to their consumers. They don't celebrate PlayStation the way that I would love them to. That being said, we have the total opposite problem with Xbox, which is like the over communication. With every, you know, corpro speak out there, Phil Spencer has to come out there with the jingly keys and go, look at guys, look at Game Pass, this is great. Everything's great here. Don't look at what's going behind the scenes. Look at the keys. Look at how much they jingle. And look, they
Don't
did
get the
that.
money behind the curtain.
Right. It's like, yeah, it's like a Wizard of Oz situation for sure. And like, even during that podcast, they're like, you're right. It's like the 4 games. These 4 games.
Oh
We're
my
going to
god,
start
that
with
was
4.
so
We're gonna test
annoying.
this.
Because
And
they were
then-
like, it wasn't just that they were like, oh my god, it's 4. It's only going to be 4. Because like, obviously, we know that that's just like, if
Yeah,
this is successful,
4
they'll do
now.
more. And even if it's not, they'll probably do more.
Well,
But on top of that, they were like,
they already said. I mean, I don't even think it was coded or anything like that.
No,
Basically,
not really.
They basically said that this is the test, and you know, we're gonna learn, and you know, he didn't
and
say
exactly
do more.
what
but
are we
basically-
going to learn if
Yeah.
it works, and we're going to do more. And so it's just like, and then all of a sudden, once they get to the news that might hurt you a little bit, they're like, look at the jingly keys. We got Diablo.
we got
coming to Game
Diablo. I almost
Pass.
wonder if that's why they
Yeah.
made it wait a
We're-
week.
Oh yeah, we're still making the biggest console leap. You believe me, which doesn't matter.
And then
Like, you know?
yeah, and then
Could
it's
matter
a
less.
vague. Even that is vague. The biggest
Even that-
technical
and,
leap.
like,
Xbox.
I
That could
think
be
I do
anything.
know what-
That could be AI. It could be anything.
Right.
There's no
that is
guarantee.
AI.
Yeah,
That-
there's
that
no
is definitely
guarantee
AI.
for but the way they worded it makes you think technological leap as far as GPU, CPU. That's the type
thing
of
that-
thinking you
Yeah.
get from that type of speak, right?
But
That's
even
not what
like
they
all
meant.
of that, I don't even care. Like, because
No.
that's like 2-3 years away. I don't care. It's like what's happening right here, right now. My
Mhm.
problem is, look, they waved the jingly keys, and we're talking about AI for the next console. We're not talking about the issue at hand, which is, yeah, no, they're taking exclusives away from their community, and they're bringing them onto others. And whether that's good or bad, yeah, we can have that debate. But look at the jingly keys, right?
What's up over here? Check these keys out.
Exactly. And to me, it's like, why did this need to be a podcast? This could have been an
Literally a
Xbox
tweet.
Wire post, a tweet.
Yeah.
This
Well-
could have been announced when these games were being announced. Like,
Exactly, because it was
you
it was
don't
a
have to
week
wait
away.
a week and a half. It's just, it was bonkers to me. And so, like, outsider looking in, I'm like, and this is why you're in the predicament you're constantly in, because you over communicate you have too many quotes out there of what your plans are when your plans are constantly in flux. Like, look at PlayStation's not far behind of what Xbox is
No.
doing, right?
Yeah, Hiroki
You-
just said that.
Hiroki Totoki, the CFO, acting president, he's telling you guys, hey, listen, we need to shorten the window of PC. We need to be more ambitious with it. We need to go into mobile more. We need to focus on cloud. Those are the platforms we're going to focus in. And they also, at the end of the day, have to go back to our console. But like, you're seeing them go, hey, listen, they're going to explore much shorter windows. And they've even gone on to talk about it, much shorter windows between PC and PS5 releases. So like this whole, and that's all they're going to talk about as well. It's like, here's the ins and outs of what we're thinking. And then by the time they're ready to announce it, they'll talk about it. The over communication has been something that is the Achilles heel for Xbox, and it also happens to be their biggest strength. And I also think it is a situation that Xbox has now finally, I hope, awoken, which is what I've been told constantly behind the scenes of people that have worked in PR for Xbox, is like they have been way too communicative to their audience and befriending parts of that audience that they know are toxic, right? So when you have Tim Dog setting up a 7-hour doomsday prepping podcast, Xbox is now going, oh shoot, we actually maybe have weaponized this audience, and now they actually think that they have the keys to the car because
Now,
our CEO played a game of Halo with them.
Now I'll challenge that a bit, right? Because
Okay.
I have a theory on that, and I actually, to Tim Dog's credit, I like Tim Dog, and I like that he stood by what he said, and I think he went a bit far where it comes to, I guess, lashing out at certain other people that may have said something to him, which he has apologized for lately, to his credit. However, I will give him credit for standing on what he believes, and his belief is that this is not good for the consumer on Xbox, and I happen to agree to some degree that I think exclusives are good for us as consumers in some ways. However, yeah, you could say that it was an extreme. I can definitely get that viewpoint, but I have a theory that, and I think it's kind of founded by some things that I can't quite share, but I think Tim Dog was not only given his information behind the scenes, which he has connects. We know that for a fact, right? But I feel like he was given a bit of this by somebody who had issues. Well, I can say that for a fact. I know he does, but I won't go into more details than that. But I feel like maybe he was set out there.
Does his first name rhyme with yikes? Never mind.
No, it rhymes with Gatia, like Satya. No, I'm sorry, I'm joking. Seriously,
My best friend, Gatia ass.
Gatia ass. No, but seriously, I feel like maybe he was sent out there as somebody to kind of get the community hyped and excited about understanding what's going on. Not hyped and excited in a good way, of course. I mean, to like, hey, they're about to do this thing. This is in the plans. If you make a big enough stink, maybe this can be reverted. And I think that kind of worked to some degree. Not that it would alternate their plans, I guess, on that basis, but I definitely believe they would hold off on making certain announcements and moves that the community was clearly highly against. And that made a lot of noise when he did that. I mean, from not just him in his spaces, but then articles and things like that being written up and all these other things. And it created a ton of bad PR for Xbox to the point.
What I'll say, I implore people to go on to Season Gaming, go on to Cast Co-op, listen to my buddy Ains, who
Shout out
works
to
in the
Ains.
corporate sector, understands it to a very intimate level, because he is dealing with these C-suite execs on a daily, and it the way he spoke about it made me think that that's not typically how it goes. Like, I think the people that are probably upset at this news are not like the C-suite guys. It's probably some people that are on the ground that are upset about the messaging. So like, to me, that's again one of the problems here is like Xbox has a problem with loose lips sink ships. Where there are people that probably in certain sectors of that company are probably aggravated at management for numerous reasons. It could be like bonuses, it could be, the direction of where they're taking their games.
Or just they don't agree with the plan, right? Like there is people.
Exactly.
I mean, I feel like some people know people from Xbox that do talk shit about. They're like whatever you're gonna say today is probably less shit talking than some of the people that work there that don't think they understand consumers, don't think that this plan is right, that they don't understand the console market and the console gamer. There is people that work at Microsoft that believe that. And you know what? If you go to any corporation, really, I can think back to mine, like, years back where people were starting rumors that a division was going to, like, an entire, subsidiary was going to get shut down, and it was all based on rumors and somebody's theories and whatever, and people didn't agree with this or that. And there's people that poison the well. And yeah, there is, we saw from the leaked documents that part of their strategy, and I think from a high level, I don't have any problem with the strategy, but part of their strategy at some point in the Xbox One generation is they figured, hey, the future of advertising isn't billboards, it is social media, so let's leverage that. Let's try to reach out to the YouTubers and the influencers and the people that have a presence and a community on social media and try to establish something there. And I think that probably over that period of time there's been some learning, because from a high level you can say, yeah, that makes sense, but then you get into the details of it, and I would say that it's been interesting because Microsoft has been leaning away from the console wars going back to about 2016 when they said we're going to be day one on PC. What's happening today is not something that's just happened overnight. This has been in the plans. They've foreseen a future that is beyond the console walls, and they believe that we're at the doorsteps of that. And so what you're starting to see today, I don't think anything is going to. We're going to look back on a lot of like this reaction in like maybe 3 years or so, and like, oh wow, like that was a bunch of like overreacted and all this other stuff. But the thing is, some. At the end of the day, like a lot of who like where they've been empowering people is on the console wars, because that's where you've had the most enthusiastic fans. They've leaned into that. They haven't really done anything to, like, they support people that are all in on the console wars. And I'm not out here judging. I don't sit up here in like my fake ivory tower and say like, because I understand people have preferences, in some respects, most humans are a little bit tribal. I mean, shit, we see that with politics, right? Like you can say the sky, it's raining.
Anything really. Phones, look at iPhone and iOS and Android and iOS. Absolutely.
Yeah, if the leader of your tribe, I won't get into any specifics. If the leader of your tribe says it's not raining when it's raining, people will try to justify it.
It's true.
Right.
So like, tribalism exists, and it's not just in consoles. Also, there is, I think, that element just like with sports and stuff, and people were conditioned over the years, because if you go back, not too long ago, a lot of people that actually are on Xbox came from Sega, came from Dreamcast, right? So there were real stakes in the game for the consumer. Like, at least when my Lions lost the Super Bowl, lost a chance to go to the Super Bowl, that really sucked. But at the end of the day, like, nothing changes in terms of like my buying habits, my investments in games, or where I've made friends and bought digital games and things like that. But I think that through people's experience in the console wars, they've learned that there is a price to pay for losing that really badly. And so I think that's why gaming has always been a little bit different. It is like, hey, if we don't win this thing, we're going to get less exclusives, we're going to get less games, and maybe the whole thing goes away.
And maybe go the route of Sega.
Yeah. Now, what I'll say to that is that that's not the case anymore, and that's why they are doing what they're doing. But you can't understand. Like, I think the consumer's been conditioned all those years, and not just the consumer. The general media has been conditioned that way. They still, like, I've been listening to them. They're like, oh, well, I guess they're gonna. Why don't they just get out of consoles? They lose money, and it's like, no, actually, you guys, like, they need the space. they need somebody who's going to build a bridge to the future, and that 40 million, maybe it's much smaller than Sony's base. They still need what they have to move forward, especially since that's almost all their Game Pass Ultimate subscribers. So they still need that stuff. But again, I don't. It's also fair to like maybe be empathetic to like where some of it comes from, because there is people, I've had people reach out that are like, should I start moving, like stop buying stuff on Xbox? Is all my stuff going away? Like they really believe that, and I think it's just because of how they're being conditioned. It's not just, it doesn't make them stupid, they just don't pay, like it's not up to us as consumers, the general consumer, to like understand business plans. And I think this is where Microsoft right now is going to have some challenges for the next couple years. Is you're trying to sell somebody on what this house looks like when it's fully furnished, and right now, like we just got like it's not even fully built and there's no furniture in it, right? And it's not painted, and you're trying to tell people, well, this is going to be great,
it's good,
trust
it's fine.
Yeah, you're going to be fine, you guys. We're going to move all your stuff, all your furniture and everything is coming over to this new house we're building. And so don't worry about the fact that,
but in the meantime, we're giving away our old used furniture to, to our new tenants over there. And you'll get yours eventually. Like, this is part of the thing, I think, is part of the issue and you hit it on the head when you pointed out the console warring aspect. Not only has Microsoft, but Sony, I think, bought into the whole console warring aspect. You guys,
it works. It did work.
And you guys remember, this is how you share games on PlayStation. None of them are above doing it, right? We have been, and I've said this before, we've been conditioned as gamers to expect to console war. We've been conditioned to expect exclusives. These are things that they've taught us over the years, over the decades. You go back to Sega and Nintendo. Sega does what Nintendo don't. All these different things, right? This is not new. So what I do believe that is, it is on us as adults to change and get out of that. Of course, I'm not saying like, oh, that's our fault, that's their fault that we're like this. But at the same time, if somebody's going to, like you say, like look down from the ivory tower and kind of finger wag, it's like, don't, because this is stuff that the companies have even pushed and conditioned us to be like. But my thing is bigger than that, because this is part of my issue, and I have no issue with those 4 games in particular now. But somebody brought it to my attention. I was in a party, and I won't say who, but you all know the person. And they said, well, do you think that's a bit of cope on your end, that you're like, okay, I'm fine with these 4? Because before, when we started hearing about these other games like Starfield and Halo and Indiana Jones and Blade or whatever, well, not Blade, but naturally would be that, right? You were like, oh no, but then you heard these 4, you were like, again, only these 4 would go. Then you're like, okay, I'll accept that. And they're right, because before I was even like, I don't like that these 4 are going over. Hi-Fi Rush is a brand new IP. It did well, as far as Steam and reception. It's like, keep that, it's brand new IP. But then after that happened, where we got that scare, where we, and a lot of people try to write it off. See, these insiders and influencers were wrong. No, they were not. Some of them went overboard in how they presented it, but those games were absolutely and still are under consideration. Let's not get that twisted. So, but the bigger thing is, once we saw that, it was like, no. And then it was like, oh, it's just these 4 smaller niche titles. And everybody was like, okay, yay, kumbaya again. And if we're going on this roller coaster of emotion when it comes to Xbox, and sometimes it's annoying to deal with, because to your point, Bad Bit, we don't really experience that with Sony. You not only are they more tight lit when it comes to their lid of information, we don't really get exposed to much. And I don't know
people
if
aren't worried. People aren't worried about them going out.
That too, and people aren't never necessarily worried about them. And and that's the biggest thing. But that's part of why I wanted to sharing is caring as this topic, because now we're also hearing about Hiroki Totoki being okie dokie with games going to PC. I had to do it. I like it. What are you guys' thoughts on that? And I'll start with you, Bad Bit, on that as our resident PlayStation guy. What's
Yeah,
your thought? Like, and I want to ask this in a kind of layered way. Like, with that happening, I'm sure you're going to be like, yeah, it's fine. But asking as far as like, look at it as from your general audience perspective too. How do you feel that they are going to take it if PlayStation is going to be more roundabout and going day and date? Because that's what this is leading to. I'm pretty sure you agree.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I've taken the unpopular opinion within the PlayStation camp of like, I don't care where these games go. The reason why I play on PlayStation, it's true, exclusives do matter, right? Where I play PlayStation because of Naughty Dog, I play on my PlayStation because of Santa Monica, Sucker Punch, like you name the PlayStation studio, Bend. I'm playing games there because I like their games that they make. I like the partnerships that they make. God bless Bloodborne. So like, to me it's the reason why I play on the box are these games. That being said, I don't care where these games go because look at the margins are getting slimmer and slimmer. They have said it. They want to fix that issue. And so I don't care where Last of Us goes because as long as I get to play Last of Us Part 3, I'm okay. I just want to play whatever game Cory Barlog's cooking up next. I want to play that game, right? Like he's earned that trust from me. So like to me, I don't personally care if their games one day go day and date on PC because as long as they sell and they improve those margins, I'll get to see more of those games. That being said, some PlayStation folks feel very similar as to Xbox folks feel. Take your pick, either today or God, was 6 years ago with the whole
2016 or whatever it was. Yeah.
It's too long. 8 years. God damn time. So like with Xbox going to PC, and so they're like they're concerned that it'll eat away at those sales. At the end of the day, I really genuinely don't care. I've gotten this question multiple times, like, well, what if Last of Us goes on Xbox? You wouldn't care? No, I don't. I really don't care. Because good games deserve to be played. I just cover, and I think it's a problem with a lot of centric shows. Is like I cover PlayStation. I have over almost 600 hours in Sea of Thieves. I have well over 200 hours in Halo Infinite. Like I will play a good game where a good game is to be had. So like don't get it twisted. I do have a bias towards PlayStation because that is again the beat I cover, the thing I'm surrounded by the most. So of course I'm gonna have more positive feelings towards it, but I'm also realistic. So like this is PlayStation's getting there, and I think the reason why people are, I think the temperature in the room is, rather than being like red hot, we hate this, is being like somewhat lukewarm, is because we've already been conditioned as part of the audience of like, oh yeah, no, this happens. Like again, Xbox was the one that did it first, and we all gave them heat, and then the ceiling didn't fall and the sky didn't fall, and like everything's okay, and so now we think it's normal. Like Xbox took that fall so that PlayStation can do it and not get as heated about it. And you're already seeing them go, hey, listen, games are going to go to PC, but it's going to be on a later time frame. Now you're seeing Totoki go, it's going to be sooner than 2 years though. And you're seeing even within the studios, them hiring people, engineers that could work on PC ports.
They bought a PC porting studio.
Exactly. So like
years ago.
This is, they're going to invest much more into it. So
I don't think people understand though, Bad, like, and like, when you talk to the community on that stuff, I will say, as somebody who's, I've been, it's, clearly I have a bias towards Xbox. I've been on that. I have all the stuff too, but I've been there over 20 years, really, since I played Halo CE on a kiosk a few weeks after launch. But but the fact of the matter is, when Microsoft went day and date on PC, and especially seeing some of their stuff kind of blow up there, it actually made their the business case for a lot more games viable, right? So there's what people don't understand, like what they look at a lot of times is, okay, well, what's happening to the games that they are making? What they don't ever see is the games that hit the cutting room floor because because they're in the boardroom and it doesn't make business sense because it's not high margin enough, or we need to we need to, you're Activision Blizzard and you're cutting all these cool projects behind the
Right.
scenes because you need to put all of these studios on Call of Duty because that makes more money than everything, all these other things together. Like people don't see that. And I think, the fact that that Microsoft was able to branch out to the go day and date on PC, it made it so something like a Grounded or Sea of Thieves, like Sea of Thieves, I don't think would be what it is today with all the support that it's got if it were not for the support it got from the PC side of things.
And
And
and to
go
go
ahead.
on top and to go on with that is like, what people are failing to realize is your Roblox, your Fortnite, your Call of Duties are more than the console,
Yeah.
right? And like Phil talked about this. This is the one Philism that he, to me, I always say that like Phil Spencer will tell 3 half truths and a whole truth. Like this is the whole truth. It's like games now are way more bigger than like they've become platforms.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, where can I play Fortnite is very important. How can I play Fortnite the best? And like, having that brand transcend where I could be like, I could play the same game with the same content on Xbox, PlayStation, PC, mobile is important to the consumer. So like, if you don't have that stuff, chances are they're not going to play in your ecosystem, and then you lost that customer maybe forever. So like, that's the other thing. Is like a lot of the Xbox games that we've seen that are successful, like your Sea of Thieves, which is arguably their most successful live service game, coming over to PlayStation, is them saying, hey, listen, we've got all the consumers we can here. Now we're trying to grow them somewhere else and to bring a second, breath of life into it on the other platforms.
Now,
It's
I
more
have a
than
question
just
to that.
Yeah.
To that, and I wanted to also get your take too, Danny, because I know you, these two gentlemen, we want to let them shine. But
Oh yeah, I've been
I-
talking too much.
oh no, you've been talking
Oh.
just the right amount. Like I wanted you guys are our guests, so we definitely have to get
No,
you
it's
your
bad,
take.
but he's been talking too much. God.
Exactly.
Just
but
kidding.
but this is for all of you, and Danny, I'll start with you.
I'm
and,
not sorry.
and you all can jump in. He said, "I'm not apologizing for a damn thing." But this is the thing, like, and this has been going on, and I'm sure OBM, you see it in the chats as well. The logos, right? For instance, they have these games coming over, and you wouldn't, if you are a casual, would you even know that Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves and
No.
Pentiment and all those are attached to Xbox in any way or Microsoft?
No.
Because
No,
they
you
don't
won't.
they don't have any of their logos or anything or branding in it. Nothing. Not even
Well, here's the thing.
Xbox Game Studios, not even in it.
Most Xbox gamers don't know Hi-Fi Rush exists, and that's the thing.
To be fair, but like, let's say like you're a casual on a PlayStation, because part of this is their reason for putting these games out there as an experiment is to not only just get sales, because sales is always the bottom line, right? But also to grow brand awareness. But how do you do that if you don't have any branding on it? What's your thoughts on that, Danny? And you guys can, of course, chime in after his point.
Okay.
My immediate assumption is that it doesn't. Okay, my immediate assumption is that it's some kind of legal thing where PlayStation was like, we don't want the Xbox Studios big splash screen when you boot up the game or whatever. Like, I assume it's something to do with that. And at the end of the day, I don't think it matters. The game is going to go over there. It's going to make money. And that's all it's really going to do, right? In the case of Hi-Fi Rush, they don't need to know that it's an Xbox game. They just need to know when Hi-Fi Rush comes out that it's only on Xbox for at least some period of time. That's all. That's what they're really trying to do here. Is they're launching games on other platforms so that they can lure other people in when they launch the sequels to them. It's basically exactly what Phil said. Is he's like, we want to do this so that we can make these games more healthy and we can do sequels, right? So when he was saying that about sequels, I think he very specifically meant that about Hi-Fi Rush. And here's the, because I wasn't here last week because I had to do a family thing. My biggest takeaway is this. Okay. Before their podcast, I was concerned because not because I didn't want games to go to other platforms. I really don't care, right? Really, in a perfect world, there wouldn't be exclusives. My worry is and always was, if Xbox is the only person to send their exclusives elsewhere, then what that does is end up giving people a significantly less of a reason to ever buy an Xbox, which then limits competition in the game space, and that's bad for everybody. absolutely nothing that they said in that entire 40-minute podcast did anything to alleviate my concerns in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
But I no longer have those concerns, and the reason for that is not because of Phil or Sarah or Booty, but because of Hiroki Totoki. Hiroki Totoki just put out this whole QA where he's like, "Yeah, dude, us too."
Yep.
like in the absolute perfect best case scenario, all of the console manufacturers are going to do this. It's the best case scenario for literally every single person, where these games that they make get to have a longer lifespan, because most of them are going to, because when we're talking about different console platforms, I don't necessarily think we ever go date and date to other platforms. I think that we stay timed at least for a pretty long time. And whether that's a year or whatever. And that would dramatically increase competition if all of the, or at least even if it's just PlayStation and Xbox doing it, that would dramatically increase competition, because now you have to compete a lot harder on the hardware front, because that's one of the biggest reasons why people would choose your platform at this point, because they're really not doing it based on games.
Mm-hmm.
And when the games launch, they have to launch in a state where they're good enough to draw people to come over day one, so they don't wait that period to go over. So you have to launch better, more complete games. That's better for the consumer. The games get to have a longer lifespan and get to make more money per game. So you're making more money off the same amount of work, more or less. I mean, you got to do the money to port it, but that's not the same as doing a whole nother game, obviously. So the devs get to make more money and see more success off of their projects. The companies get to make more money and achieve more of that infinite growth that's really genuinely unsustainable in capitalism, but gives them at least a couple more years of doing that. So it's a win across the board. And as soon as Hiroki Totoki came out and he's like, yeah, we're going to start doing things on PC, and he was kind of hinting at and maybe we're going to do some other platform stuff. And they already are doing other platform stuff.
Yeah,
because people point to, I point out, oh, MLB The Show is already on Xbox, and people are like, oh yeah, but MLB made them do that. And it's like, they didn't make them do that. They gave them an ultimatum. They said, you can either put this game on Xbox, or you can make Sony San Diego make a different game. And they said, okay, well, we'll put it on Xbox. They made that choice. And it's the same thing with Bungie and Marathon.
Bungie's their most expensive purchase. People people act like they walked into Bungie not knowing they're going to make they're going to keep a multi-plat.
And Bungie said, at some point in their negotiations, they were like, we want to continue to publish things on other platforms. PlayStation could have pushed back on that. They could have not made the purchase, whatever. They made the choice that it was more worth it for them to have those games and launch it on other platforms than to not have them at all. So they are also going in this direction. They're going slightly slower than Xbox, and I think it's for the exact reason that Badbit said, where they're trying to avoid they're trying to wait until the point where people stop caring when it happens. So they're kind of, because they can make that money. And
just to add to what you said, that we had Shane on last week when you couldn't be here. He mostly said exactly that, and that Microsoft is trying to slow walk us into that. But it's also, to doubly to your point, that's clearly what I believe you and agree with you, that Totoki is doing much the same. That Sony's aim is to kind of slow walk them into understanding that these games are going to go probably day and date and et cetera, and possibly some might come to Xbox. That's my thinking.
I pretty much guarantee it. It's going to start with the live service games and smaller games, just like it is on Xbox. And I don't know if this is something that happens next year or 4 years from now. It's going to happen. And I think eventually, because I think the reason why Xbox is starting with these 4 instead of just being like, we're going to do everything, is for 2 reasons. Number one, they want to slow roll the consumer into it so they don't freak out as much as they did on Twitter. And also because I think they're kind of playing footsie with PlayStation. They're like, hey, check this out. I think it's going to be that situation where, when you're with your new girlfriend and you see your ex someplace, and then your girlfriend says something that really wasn't that funny, but you're going to laugh extra hard. These games, because you want to make them look jealous, right? It's going to be that situation. And these games probably won't perform super amazing on PlayStation or on Switch. Grounded, maybe. I don't think Pentiment will, dramatically
might do well.
Yeah, well, I don't think Pentiment will do amazing. Sea of Thieves will probably do fine. Hi-Fi Rush will I think probably has the best bet of doing really well, just because it was more well known. I don't think any of these games. Yeah, I don't think any of these games are going to be absolutely amazing 10 out of 10 ridiculous sales, but I bet Xbox talks about it. I bet they're like, look how well we did. Oh my god, look how great my new girlfriend is. And then Totoki's going to be over there looking at his money, and they just dropped 10 billion in value. And it wasn't because they weren't making good games. I mean, next year apparently they don't really, or this year rather, I guess they don't apparently have anything coming out of first party, and that's an issue. But
Totoki seems like he just doesn't
flat out.
He doesn't give
Yeah.
a fuck about any of our feelings.
No, at all. And you know what? I respect Hiroki Totoki might be my favorite PlayStation CEO for exactly that reason. The fact of him just coming out and being like, look, guys, we're going to keep making all the games that you like, but we need to make more money. And so we're going to put them on PC and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Like
They
him just
lost
coming
10
out
billion,
and
so I think that he's being like
him just
straight
being-
up front about it, right?
Well,
Yeah,
I think
I
there's
mean-
a few trends like people they I don't know if they're not aware of. And again, this goes back to what I said before. It's really not up to consumers to really understand the industry and where things are going. But exclusives have less and less impact every year on the Xbox and PlayStation. And the reason why is we didn't just start a new generation in 2020. This is a continuation of the 2013 generation. People have built their digital libraries, their friends list, their either achievements or trophies. They find their favorite, that either you want for whatever reason you want symmetrical sticks because you want to lose in first person shooters, or you get your offsets. Like, I'm just kidding. But not really. But there is, what happened, what if you look at the top selling games on these platforms, number one, like it's already been mentioned, you see that most of them are multi-platform. The majority of things that have high engagement are gas games, social games, and then the other aspect is that the biggest games right now are cross generation. If you look at the most played, the highest selling games generally are games that can still be played on your 2013 PS4 and VCR, Xbox One. And if you look at the future trends, and some of this stuff came out in the trials, so it's not just like speculation. I mean, there's analysts that have talked about this stuff as well. But even in some of the financial statements and some of the leaks, all that stuff, like a lower percentage of the gaming revenue is like going to be like your traditional $70 game. Like as we continue to move forward, more of the revenue percentage is going to be it's going to be microtransactions, it's going to be free to play stuff, it's going to be subscription revenue is like what a lot of industry analysts predicts is going to continue to go up. And and the other like trends that we're seeing is that the over the last few years and even moving like where people are projecting it to go is going to be less in the walled garden. Like we're going to start to see a larger percentage of people playing on hardware that is platform agnostic. So you're going to be at like 5 years or less, you're going to be on a piece, you're easily can be on a piece of hardware that will play every day one game, from whether it's PlayStation, Xbox, whatever. Like all these stores are going to sit next to each other. We're going in that direction. PC is expected to grow. Streaming is like completely underrated by the hardcore gamer because we look at it as like, no way, like, am I ever going to do that? But what people don't actually realize, NVIDIA's GeForce Now is going to pass up Microsoft's active users in a few years. Like their streaming subscription is about to go past Microsoft's console base. So think about that. And Microsoft themselves have said 10% of their users now are streaming, and which is interesting. And they're way behind NVIDIA. But this is where things are going. The mainstream gamer is not. They're not like a lot of us that grew up with wanting the most pixels, the best graphics. They want convenience. They want stuff to play with their friends. They want it to be easily accessible. And I think when we talk about thinking about PlayStation on everything, the reason for that isn't because they're thinking about, we need to port like Last of Us or the next Uncharted or whatever everywhere. They're thinking because in order for us to grow, we got to make these games that are going to be where the industry is going. We're going to have to make these games that are going to be everywhere, that people are going to play for a long time, where they're going to buy a lot of microtransactions. That's why we bought Bungie, and just because Jim's gone doesn't mean they pivoted. I would everything that Totoki has said, is that it's still going in that direction. And for these big gas games, like Call of Duty is bigger than Xbox, right? Minecraft is bigger than Xbox. These big gas games are bigger than those platforms, and I think they're going to look for their own, right? And that's why they threw a bunch of things against the wall and hope that a few things stick well enough to build off of. But if they can get them big enough, then I would not rule out it going everywhere, and I would expect Microsoft to anything that's going to have ongoing support will probably get ported. Now I think there's always a challenge with Halo, right? Because is so associated. So maybe that's the last
Yeah.
thing.
So that
Yeah, I
leads
think it'll
to
be the last thing, but I do think
But
it,
I would
it
love
will
it.
go.
I
see
would
now,
absolutely.
but see now that leads to another interesting
I,
thought.
I
Now,
want
right?
to play you guys with the symmetrical sticks because that makes me feel better about myself. Sorry.
Ew.
Well, we just to
Disgusting,
let
how
you,
dare.
our Who brothers know, you all will get slaughtered by us. Just to let you know, I'm sorry. We're not going to let you. We can't. Our pride can't allow you to think you're going to win over us on Xbox Side. But no,
I'm getting y'all pregnant. That's what's gonna happen. All right. All these guys, they don't know what we're about here because everybody's like, "Oh, you're a PlayStation guy," and then like I get into the Halo.
Yeah, that means you
servers
only
with
play
them, and then
like
they all
Stray and Goodbye Volcano High.
Exactly.
and I cry. And then I get all these people pregnant on these servers because I'm just fucking them up constantly. You know? No, I
see,
agree with everything.
you're a hybrid though. See, you've played Xbox
Yeah.
games like that too. See,
You know, it is what it is. But like, but I agree with everything. One bad said. It's like, I think we get way into the weeds about like the things that aren't important. Like, yeah, like there's no Xbox splash screen on Pentiment. It's like they don't care.
Who cares?
It's like when Xbox announced like that they're coming on to other platforms. They go Nintendo Switch because they're a very close partner, and then they go Sony consoles. It's like we know what you're saying without saying it. Most people don't know that Minecraft is bought by or owned by Microsoft. They don't care. Same with
Microsoft doesn't care. They're
Yeah,
making
yeah.
so much money. Who cares?
Yeah,
They want
Like,
the- they want
that's all that they're here for.
They want the IP to be. It's about building the IP more than it is about. And that's, I think, the thing people weren't understanding. Like when Microsoft was talking about building their Xbox brand, really what it is like if Hi-Fi Rush becomes a bigger IP and they can make a bigger sequel, and people take for granted like just because Microsoft's got unlimited cash that they're just going to throw it everywhere forever. And that's not the case. We saw them cut a big Blizzard project in 1,900 jobs. You don't think that they would turn that the next guy that comes in there that's looking at the financials when they're underperforming goes, you know what? Why don't we just make Tango and Double Fine Call of Duty support studios? Like that
Please, God.
that is possible. I'm not saying that's. I mean, obviously, that's one of the reasons I'm a fan of Game Pass is the diversity. But that stuff is possible, and you want to build these things up so that you can justify continuing to build on these unique, diverse portfolio, right?
So at the end of the day, it is about like building ecosystems more so than the brand. So yeah, I 100%. There's going to be a day where like, and it's something that I'm very glad, very proud of. That like year one of the trophy, we said that there will be a time where you're playing an Xbox game on a PlayStation. Look at what we're seeing, and you're going to see a PlayStation game on.
So
an
it
Xbox,
was you all who cursed us.
Oh my God, Bad Bit did it the whole time.
I'm
He's
gonna
been
take
blowing
the
it.
mask off. Hey guys, it's me. It's Phil.
It was him all along.
But like it's going to happen where it's just like these are apps on a piece of hardware that's not necessarily a PlayStation or an Xbox, because that's where it's all moving. And I think that like a lot of people and a lot of content creators are scared of that possibility because they've made their bread and their butter on this ecosystem and they don't know how to cover it differently.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so like that's why you see a lot of the panic around some of these creators, because they made their bread and butter on this like sports, WWE type of like Xbox is doing this, so PlayStation's doing that, and this is why Sony sucks. And
there's an aspect of it, I guess, where if that now I'm thinking 30 years from now, so it could not probably matter less, but I do almost wonder about like what happens to like an Xbox specific podcast or a PlayStation specific podcast when like all of the games are everywhere anyway. Are you just talking about like the quarter 1 results are in and
there is Netflix shows, right? Like there's still brand, there's still brand,
sure, yeah. Well, but that's kind of where I think so. You guys are talking about building up an ecosystem. I think that's absolutely true, but I almost think that the direction we're going is less even building up an ecosystem. I think they're always going to want that to be a thing, obviously. I think they want to control it farm to market as much as they can, but I think at this point the thing that they're really looking at is building up franchises, building up IPs. I think that they want to make Hi-Fi Rush this thing where it could have a Saturday morning cartoon. They want to make Halo 100%. This thing where it could have multiple different games in different genres, and maybe this TV show goes off and continues.
You're
to be
100% on the money.
Yep.
It's about like How do we transform these things into something even larger than games, a movie, a show, a goddamn podcast? Like, and that's what the future of gaming is gonna look at. Like what y'all said earlier is 100% on the money. Hiroki Totoki is going to look at what Xbox is doing, and again, they have the luxury of being the most dominant brand on the market, so they have the time to think about it. And when they do, go, "Oh, look at us."
Yeah. Well,
But
it's really
they're gonna take a
telling.
look at that monthly active user, and that is going to be the thing that's going to tip them over the aggressive on a multi-platform solution for our games. We all have to get used to the fact that games are become so much more expensive to make, manufacture, and distribute that these companies have to go outside their walled gardens, because PlayStation knows their limit for this console is around 100 million. Whether it's good, bad, whatever, it's 100 million units plus. Xbox knows that their system is on the decline a little bit, and it's going to sell around 50 million units. That's where they know they're going to fall at the end of the day, and that's just not sustainable if you are chasing that, that growth. Right. Look at Game Pass. They wanted that thing to be at 100 million active users by 2077 or
2030.
2077. They'll probably hit it by 77.
Yeah, 77.
2030.
Anyway,
2030 they wanted it to. Now it's at
Yeah.
34 million now.
34, and it's
Yeah.
not even the whole like ultimate. So like, they're behind.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
they have to now think outside the box, and they don't have the luxury of time that PlayStation does, and so they have to make these calls
Well,
to
I
grow
almost
the brands. And
yeah.
I think that's what people are really losing sight on. It's like, guys, first off, the console war has been over. Okay, now we
Well,
got to get.
it never actually existed. It was a construct in
Never.
the minds of idiots.
God bless you, Dan. 100%.
I try to be a lot nicer about it.
Yeah, Dan's right. Because at the end of the day, it's like, dude,
Please direct your hate mail to Daniel McGee. Daniel
Bro,
J.
if they aren't
McGee.
already sent. I already said that I didn't like Baldur's Gate. They're coming for me. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But like when you take a look at it, it's like the Xbox are the Mets, and like PlayStation are the Yankees. It's like the disparity is wide
Yeah.
enough that like it's not
Well-
even close. Guys, can we get over and just enjoy the games in our ecosystem? It's what we try
Well,
to do on the trophy.
But you say that and you're right. But at the same time, it's so like, because there was one thing that you said that I think in the way that you meant it, you were correct, but in the way that it hit my ear was
Go for it,
incorrect. Where you said Xbox doesn't have the time that PlayStation has. I actually think it's the opposite. I think Xbox has all the time in the world. They can take all of these risks, and if something blows up in their face, they're Microsoft. They've got more money than God, right?
Well,
like
and that's why they don't have time. Like, so like what I mean by time is like now Xbox is like this bigger Microsoft Gaming is this huge entity, and they just spent $70+ billion,
Less
and now
patience.
plus patience, and now like the Microsoft boards outside of the Xbox team are looking at it going, guys, you are under all your targets that you've told us you wanted to hit by now. So we're gonna take the wheel, and we're gonna start doing things our way, because it's not about making back the 70 billion. It's about making it like 140 billion, like some weird bullshit number.
I do think we are
PlayStation's
also seeing that at PlayStation, though.
And you're seeing a similar stress at PlayStation, because the PlayStation brand is the thing that makes Sony the most money. And so they have an urgency, because they're like, hey, listen, we need to help mom and pop out with the rent. And so
Yeah,
like
honestly.
you're seeing similar problems. But again, what PlayStation has is this already big install base of people that are already purchasing things within their ecosystem, so they have time to spare. But they're I what I stated earlier, it's what I constantly state, is like PlayStation's always like 3-4 years behind. They're going to get on the same page
and
Xbox
Nintendo's
does.
25.
Exactly. They're going to go the same route of Xbox. It's just going to take them a little bit more
longer.
time to figure it out, because what's important to them still is the box.
That-
It's going to remain that way until it is definitely not the box.
I think there's one more important thing that you guys just brought up that I definitely want to get this in before our show. I know we're running over, but because you guys were talking about the Game Pass thing, and you made really good points, actually, both about
motherfucker.
It must have kicked off for a second. Hold on 1 second. Let me make sure.
Such a good point, but I was
I
rambling.
know.
There you go. You should be good now, OBM. Say something really quick.
So you said Xbox is dead.
Something-
Fill us the blame. Why?
Yeah, I was like,
There you go, guys.
Rip,
Is
rip.
it good now?
Let's see.
I
did
hear
put audio, not
gameplay
you guys.
audio, not you guys. Oh man, Yobi.
I think. Yeah, I had just got an OBS thing.
Oh, we're back. Okay.
Oh,
So
there you go.
there's one other aspect of this that I wanted to bring up, which is that you're absolutely right, Bad Bit, where you're like PlayStation is so much bigger and more powerful and all that thing, and so like they're probably a lot more resistant to change because it's like, well, we're kind of winning by doing what we're doing. You know what I mean? But I do think there's an aspect of it where,
It's
because we
not
saw
that
the
they're winning,
financial
it's
results.
like they're like, we're making
Yeah,
safe money here. You
Yeah.
know, it's like that's
That's
what
not-
they're looking at.
yeah, sorry, that's not really my point. I might have gotten off track.
No worries.
But I think because we recently saw like the financial reports, which is PlayStation makes more money, but they also spend so much more that
Right.
Xbox ends up with a higher profit margin. And I think that's I think that's something that bothers them. I think that they I think Hiroki is Patrick Mahomes and he's looking over at Goff on the Lions and he's being like, why's that guy got more money than me? He's on the Lions. What's going on? Right? And it's I think that they're looking at this and they're like, and they're probably looking at the success of MLB The Show on Xbox. We saw that there's a ton of players over there. They're probably looking at how, like, if we just stop selling all these Destiny cosmetics on Xbox, what would happen, right? They're probably looking at like all these other live service games that they're working on. They're like, we could make a lot more money and have a lot more of a sustainable, life cycle for these games if we just found more players. Where can we find more players? We got a captive audience right here and on PC. So I think that it's like this is so much of a done, like it's just a matter of when. Like there's no aspect of this where it's like there's no aspect of this where it's like, oh, they make more money, Nintendo's here and PlayStation, like it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter how much money you make because companies always want to make more. And so like reaching new audiences is the fastest way to do that. And you have 2, potentially 3, if you haven't gone to PC yet, other platforms where you can just be like, here's my thing. It's good. Like if Nintendo showed up on PlayStation,
Yes.
even if they were launching old games, if they showed up on PlayStation and they're like, here's Ocarina of Time, tell me that's not selling 10 million units.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And that's how PlayStation's probably looking at PC. They're probably looking at the Helldivers success right now. Go, what the
Right.
fuck did we do
Exactly.
right here. And if like, to me, it's like that's probably the biggest push for them. Going, fuck it, day and date this shit. And that's the biggest point for me because like I genuinely I fucking hate this console war shit all the time.
Yeah, that's awful.
Like it drives me nuts. It's like, dude, I just want these games to be successful, people to have jobs, have a roof over their head. Like to me, when I saw like the wild fucking number that like Embracer just laid off, it's like, wow,
Oh,
the
yeah.
CEO
Mhm.
Lars is not going into heaven. Like that's just for sure. Like
The
You-
pearly gates will not open for you guys.
exactly. Like when my heart broke for the people over at Blizzard, that's like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I got life-saving medication I cannot afford because I'm going to be off this, whatever. It's just like, dude, that's awful.
Yeah.
I want to see these folks succeed. Like that's all I really care about. So when I see Helldiver's success, like the CEO just said, we upped the current player rate to 700,000, and though that's a big marker, we do expect to hit that marker this weekend. Like
Yeah.
that's crazy successful.
Mhm.
And so if I'm Sony, I'm looking back on, shit, what, like at the end of the day, even if I'm making a little less money over at Steam, I'm still making money. and
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
lot of
exactly.
it. So,
And
like,
well, how do you sustain it, right? And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier.
and it buys you more time of like that
Yeah.
that growth sector. It's like,
Mhm.
oh shit, we could port like let's get The Last of Us Part 2 ported faster than we're doing it at a better
Mhm.
rate.
No
You're
more
seeing
6
them
months
make-
to a year waiting, right? No more of
Those
that.
things-
Stop
yeah.
using whatever
Well,
team
it's
gave
all
Joel blackface.
I,
yeah,
yeah,
to,
rip.
to,
But
to
yeah,
piggyback off of what you're saying, Bad Bit too, is it's about building the IP. If the future of gaming is a console is beyond the beyond the wall, beyond the plastic walls, it's going to be all about your IP recognition, and if you want to put yourself in the best position for the future, it's about making sure your games have as much mind share, as much notoriety, as established. You have a portfolio of things that are as established as possible, because when you get to that point where it is kind of beyond the walls, now suddenly there is a lot of noise, right? You got to cut through. You're no longer controlling every like the right now when you're coming through that PlayStation or Xbox funnel, the enthusiast comes to their shows. They whatever Microsoft or Sony decide they want to put at the forefront or highlight gets highlighted. In the future, there's just going to be so much noise around everything, and so now is the time. And I think that's also why you're seeing Square pivot, right? Like Square knows, like, it doesn't matter how much Sony pays us today. If Final Fantasy isn't as strong as a brand name as possible going into the future, that puts them in a bad position 5 years from now, especially with you can't assume that all these new gamers, again, we talk about that, all these other gamers, they didn't grow up with these IPs that we did. They didn't choose these consoles for the same reasons we did. They went there because their friends were playing Fortnite. So I think it really just kind of builds to your point. It's really just the most important thing right now really isn't the console sale. It is the IP recognition and the IP brand and its mind share. And I think that's the same across the board. They obviously have different strengths, I think, near future, and in the console market, obviously Sony's in a much better position, but going forward, the goal is still the same. And it's going to be the same because they're all going to be moving towards that new environment together.
So let me ask you fellas this to close things out.
Yeah.
Where does this end for Microsoft? Because this is just a test. This is just a test. Warning. This is just a test. Where does this end for Microsoft, and where do you see it going? Let's say in the next 5 years. Where do you guys see this going? And logically, where would you see this going for both Xbox and PlayStation?
you're going to see more Xbox games on PlayStation. You're going to see a lot of Xbox games on PlayStation. I think you're going to finally see a firmer date of as to like when Xbox game. That's a question that needs to be answered within the next year or two. When an Xbox game comes into the ecosystem, how long does it expand into others? That needs to be a concrete answer, and I think the fans of that ecosystem do deserve an actual answer and not like a Spencerism on it. Give us 6 months to a year. Okay, fine. You already comforted us on like, our libraries aren't going away. Cool. Give us that clear, concise vision of what Xbox is and what your fans can expect when it comes to how exclusives work on that console. When it comes to PlayStation, 4 or 5 years from now, we're entering in the PS6. We're already a year into it. I think you're going to see them have a clear, concise. This is what a PlayStation game looks like on PlayStation 6, on PC, on mobile, and cloud. You're gonna see that infrastructure all play out. You're gonna see PlayStation have a much more robust PC storefront. That's something they've been working on for years now. You're going to see them have a clear, robust thing when it comes to cloud gaming. That's something they've been working on for years now. And when it comes to mobile, I bet they are looking at things like the Resident Evil port on iPhone saying, well, shit, why can't we put The Last of Us on here too? And again, have that clear, concise, hey, this is what's going to be. And you're going to see them have like the gacha games too on mobile for sure, but you're going to see them have a much more robust ecosystem that at the end of the day, they will tell you it's centered around that console, but their games need to be branching outwards. Will we see PlayStation games hit on Xbox? I hope so, but I don't think you're going to see them at the level of which Xbox is. I would like to hope though, you see their multiplayer games be on Xbox consoles as well. So that's where I see both of them. And guess where I see Nintendo in 5 years? All right, because everybody's asking what's PlayStation.
Playing in a
Xbox?
cardboard box.
They're gonna sell you the same piece of shit little handheld, and they're gonna be making buku bucks on it. Because everybody's like, well, why isn't anybody talking about Nintendo? They're like the rumors of them going PC. It's like you're high and out of your mind. Mario Kart Deluxe just sold over $75 million.
Ridiculous.
Animal Crossing doesn't have proper multiplayer support. Okay, it's Animal Crossing 43 million units sold.
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet barely function.
Exactly. So like they're in a position where they have future-proofed themselves by literally dominating in the family-friendly section of gaming that no one else can compete in, because they offer what Sony offers to the family, which is like an experience of which their competitors simply cannot compete against. They are in the luckiest position because it's so kid-friendly, and their hardware comes out underpowered out the gate, but always profitable. So
Yeah.
they're doing the same goddamn thing, and we're all mesmerized.
Yeah, they're locked in nostalgia, family friendly, and kind of a niche because they have the handheld part with it too.
They're that band from the Mos Eisley's Cantina. Play that same song
Dun,
again.
dun, 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 dun. And OPM, what about you? Where you thinking? Like, where are you thinking next 5 years for Xbox and PlayStation? Where would you see things going logically?
Well, I've kind of already alluded to some of it, but I think right now Microsoft is trying to thread a needle between now and the next generation, where I do think they are going to try to speed up the paradigm where it's going to be an Xbox anywhere. And I think once they're able to communicate with their fan base that your digital games are actually very protected, and our support with the big developers is not going anywhere, because look, with the support's not just tied to the box now, it's tied to the streaming and everything. It all adds up together to the same ecosystem. I think when we get to that point, I think they'll be able to explain it better. In the meantime, I don't know that there is a way for them to really communicate with their audience, honestly, because a lot of this stuff is still in the works, in terms of like how to get there. They're still working on these, making sure they're getting buy-in from the publishers for the Play Anywhere and stuff. And I do think that in the future, when you're going up against Steam, who has all the games, the only thing that you're going to have to really rope people in is going to be Game Pass as like a complement to that. So I really do think that's the center of their ecosystem. In 5 years, it will be more obvious that really it's more about the Game Pass than it is about third-party sales within the store. And for Sony, I think that they are probably because they get a certain amount, they get enough revenue from the console space, they'll just move slower and more cautiously. I think Japanese companies are just a little bit more cautious in terms of like how they move forward, not as tech companies tend to be like just do it, break it, and fix it later. Kind of that's always been their sort of their approach, whereas Japanese companies are just going to be a little bit more conservative with that. But I do think in the long term, Sony's going to be in the same place. They're going to be an app. They're going to be streaming. They're going to have, it may not be exactly like Game Pass, but they're going to have ways to get reoccurring revenue every month from people. That's just the way the industry is going. So
Okay.
They want to expand, PlayStation Plus to PC. They've been very adamant about that.
And they got to figure out how to build that value, because by the way, I did hear from somebody pretty reputable that the core, the Game Pass core, which is basically your gold people, is just between 6 and 7 million. So Microsoft is very close to being able to cut that cord on the paywall and unifying that. I do think that that's something. That is something also in the future. You're going to have to cut the cord of that, because the PC gamer, or you move beyond that walled garden. It's going to be hard to charge people to pay online.
It's already tough now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they'll just go to Steam, and where they can play for free. So the same game.
Trust, I've seen plenty of PC master racers throw that in our face plenty of times. Oh, you guys pay for online and internet connection and.
I'm going to call my shot on that. I'm going to say when the next generation starts, Microsoft will have eliminated the paywall.
So within the next 2
Cold in
years,
my grave before I do my taxes and my video games in the same place. I swear on Christ.
You
I
have
swear
to-
on Jah.
you have to pry it from my dead cold hands.
It doesn't mean they're not going to raise the price of Game Pass in other areas,
Yeah,
but they
I'm
will
sure.
be. There will be parity between. There will be parity between the what they're charging and what you're getting between the console and the PC, because the goal is to merge. It's to merge all that stuff. So they will. That I think that's what they're aiming to do right now.
Yeah. And Danny, for you to close it out, what's your thinking? Like, in I guess to kind of differentiate between these two gentlemen for yourself for your answer.
Yeah.
What do
mine's
you
already
see?
Different, but that's fine.
Yeah. Well, what do you see for these two in the next 5 years for Sony and Microsoft?
So I've got a good inside source. Xbox dead, PlayStation dead. Nintendo's selling playground equipment, and Amazon has taken over the entire games industry.
Oh.
And so Bezos is just like king of pop. He's
So
like the
general
Michael Jackson
doom and gloom all around for all of
video
us.
games, 100%. Yeah, we're all dead, bud. And also they're zombies maybe, but like they're cool, and like sexy.
I've made a mention on this on social media, and I do want to just expand on it. Where I go like, yeah, I said it, and this is one of those like early morning tweets of like, I kind of think we're already in another like video game crash, and people are like, Joe, the industry's not over. The industry wasn't over when the video games crashed in the 80s. What I meant by that is like, we're going to see a lot of pain in sectors that we
corrections. Yep.
Exactly.
I mean, we've already seen, what are we at, like 10,000 people laid off the last 18 months? Like, I think it's hard to argue at this point that we're not in some kind of crash in the video game space.
There's definitely a correction. Like long term, they're still projecting it to go up, but because things are different.
No, video game, the industry is healthy. The problem is that they, like, I mean, it's a whole conversation. I don't want to get into it. They thought they would continue to grow faster than they are, and so they hired too much because they hire for what they think they're going to do instead of what they're actually doing, which is, in my opinion, a stupid ass choice. But here we are.
Yep.
But no, my actual answer is I think 5 years from now, Xbox is launching pretty much all of their games, not day and date. I think we're looking at like a year exclusivity, but they're launching pretty much all their games over on PlayStation, and I think PlayStation is doing not exactly the same, but I think all their smaller games, all their multiplayer games, because they're moving into multiplayer, I think those are doing the same thing for Xbox. Maybe they're holding on to your like Spider-Man's God of Wars, but also Spider-Man would be a really easy one to transition over, because you can be like, Marvel made us do it, even if that's not necessarily true. You could say that and get away with it easier. So who knows? Genuinely, by 5 years from now, I think that we're in a completely different landscape. I think Xbox and PlayStation are publishing some, probably not all, but at least, I'm going to say at least half of both of their games on the opponent's platform. I think Nintendo has launched a new console, and maybe they're starting to branch out in some other way. Maybe they are moving it more into mobile. They have launched mobile games before. Maybe they are trying to do
They've evolved
streaming.
into origami. No,
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they were a card company, so it's not that far off base. And you know what? To spice it up, I think the VR is dead, and I think the handheld thing has busted. I think that people are like, handhelds are going to be great because they saw the success of the Switch, when in reality the Switch was successful because it was Nintendo. And I think they're going to flood the market with a bunch of handhelds, and none of them are going to be successful, and we won't see second iterations of any of them.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one.
That's because you love handhelds.
No, I think. Oh, this is a whole nother show. I think convenience. I think handhelds are eventually going to be more popular than consoles.
Oh, it's all fun and games when you're on the toilet playing them, but then you got to go get those hemorrhoids banded, and it's not so fun anymore.
I'm taking the bet on that one. I'll but anyway. It's a different show. Topic for the next time.
But you can also use your handheld in the sitz bath, so I mean, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
I mean, like, when you're in relationships, you just tell the other person you got a
Gamers don't date. Come on.
Stomach problem, and then you go finish another mission of Helldivers. I mean, that's why you get the handheld is definitely the future.
Dan, I got broken up with a month ago. Why would you say that?
You brought back so much pain. But listen, listen. So we got to end it here, guys, and get out of here. I'm glad to get you guys full breath thoughts on that. And I would say this, as far as where I see it in the next 5 years, I don't think it'll be too dramatic just yet. But I know this is a test. I think we all can agree there that more is coming. I don't know what those more will be immediately. But I would tell our audience and to people in the community to keep your keep your head up. It's not over. It's not like if the games go over there, it's over for us as Xbox as a community.
Can I say something a little heated?
Absolutely.
If that is like, if you're like, did I just get broken up with because Xbox games are going to PlayStation? And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I'm not even trying to be mean. Go see a psychiatrist. Go see a therapist. It's not that serious. You built a parasocial relationship with a brand, and that shouldn't be your identity. You are more than a plastic box. You have thoughts, feelings, and
And gosh darn it, you're good enough.
and gosh darn it, you're good.
We
enough.
are bots. We have no feelings over here, sir. Beep boop bip. No, but seriously, I won't be as cold as Bad Bit to our loving audience, but I would say this.
That it's taken after Totoki. He just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Shout out to
I
Totoki.
think this whole thing is made
I'm
me like,
telling
I
you,
don't get,
Totoki's
like,
the G. I love that man.
like, I'll just say it, like, Tim Dog, I will pay
Oh,
for you to go see someone, get that help you need, brother.
I think
It's
Tim
not-
Dog is fine. I think this was all a elaborate act to warn us and to
I
get
don't
us
know,
and
man.
to set us up
7
because
hours space.
yeah, that's
Jeez.
part of it, right? I mean, he likes to talk. That's all.
All right.
Yeah, shout out to Tim. But seriously, just as far as how I see it, I think more games will come. This is a test. Now, I look at these games here and I'm like, well, these are not going to do so financially well. I just don't think they are. Sea of Thieves to me has the best chance because it's at least a gas title. So we'll see how our PlayStation brethren do when it comes to that. Hi-Fi Rush, I'm pretty sure will do okay. I don't think it's going to do gangbusters. Pentiment is dead in the water, and I enjoyed Pentiment. I just don't see why that is even moving over to anything. Super niche. Not many people are going to give that a chance, in my opinion, but we'll see. I'll be glad to be wrong. As far as what they'll bring again, I don't know. I think they'll stick to the gas titles, maybe, but that leads to the problem. Halo is a gas title, at least the multiplayer portion. So what happens there? We'll see, and we'll see how the audience reacts. I think I would even react a little like, you bring a Halo over there? I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, it'd probably be one of the last to go, but I really do look forward to playing those people with the symmetrical sticks.
I will admit it. It's
I will
I'm
be an
torn.
honor.
I'm torn on this.
Absolutely bodying them.
Yeah, I'm feeling torn
and
because
real
I would
talk
love to
for me-
stomp them, but at the same time, I feel like away, right? But yeah,
For me, I'm like, put Last of Us. I don't care. You're like,
Yeah.
what?
I'm with you, Bad Bit.
I genuinely like I wouldn't feel torn in the slightest. Like I just want those games. Like I just want Halo. Like real talk, guys. Like I'm not even being facetious. Like Halo is the reason why I'm a gamer. That's why I have the poster in the back. I have the Master Chief helmet from Halo 3 in there. Halo CE is one of my favorite games of all time.
legendary.
I tell the story all the time. I painted stormtroopers green when I was a kid so that I could have a Master Chief looking thing so I could play with in the
Nice.
backyard. So like,
I knew
To,
there was
like-
a reason I liked you. Mr. Bad.
dude, Gears of War is legitimately one of my. Halo and Gears of War are on the Mount Rushmore of multiplayer games for me. I love
Absolutely.
them so much.
Yeah.
So the idea that like more people will get that same experience, awesome. I don't care. Like, I don't care what controller you're playing on. I think going PC has shown us all of like, no, it doesn't hinder my experience that someone like, for example, I love Helldivers. I'm playing on PlayStation. Most of my friends lists are on PC.
Mm-hmm.
It's not taken away from my experience. I'm still having fun.
Most
Sea of
in
Thieves-
general are on PC. Yeah.
Yeah, like Sea of Thieves. I just turned crossplay off because PC players are cheaters. Other than that, like,
Oh,
I
I'm
love
just
that game.
I'm all safer
Yeah.
seas. I don't even play with people on that game anymore. I'm just here to chill and catch fish. You know
Did-
what I mean?
Did
Me and
you
my
all
friends, literally we are vibing and crab dabbing.
Did you
for
all see
hours.
the meme for that for Sea of Thieves, and it showed the PlayStation gamers in the middle, and it showed the Xbox players in the ship across from it, and then the PC players on the other side of the PlayStation ship.
Oh, was it that bit from Pirates 3 where
Yeah.
it's getting torn apart and the guy's like walking through it? Yeah.
You know,
I made a joke.
That's really funny.
I made a joke on the trophy room where it's like, because one person was like, gave us a question of like, so how long is it gonna take till like PC players are like decimated by seasoned Xbox players? I'm like,
It's already
I
been
get
on
it.
PC, dude.
Sorry, I said Xbox player. Whatever. PlayStation players get ripped apart by.
Oh,
by
sorry.
Xbox. Yeah, and I made the joke of like it's gonna last 5 minutes until they both band together to fight the PC players.
I agree. Let's go.
Like y'all don't know how broken PC players are in that game. The twirls they're able to do, like, dude, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Cannot wait. April 30th. Let's go.
I'm glad that you're excited for it, man. I hope more people embrace it, and like I'm torn on that too, because people are like, oh, what, do you want it to succeed? I'm like, yeah, I do, right? Because I want good
I'm trying
games
get
to do
the creative
well.
Director on the show.
Oh,
Like,
nice. Go for
we're-
that.
we're
Yeah,
trying to
definitely.
get into talks, so we're gonna see.
That'd be dope.
Maybe
Definitely
first
do that.
step.
Definitely do that. But listen, we got to get out of here. Thank you all in the chat and being here with us tonight. If you all have not done so, please hit that like button. And again, share us out. I have it on my timeline as well. If you could share it out, we appreciate it. OBM, I'll start with you, brother. Thank you for coming through. Tell the good folks where
Yes,
they
sir.
can find you and what you'll be up to.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for having me. Just kind of as a warning in the future, if you have me on, don't promise your audience that it'll be a short show. I don't know when they shut up. Yeah, like I, using less words to say things is still an opportunity of mine for sure. But it was a really good time. I did enjoy the conversations. I really didn't mind the fact we ran over because I was, enjoying while I was enjoying hearing myself talk. Let's just be honest. But
He's doing it right now. He's doing it again.
but yeah, if you want to find me, just look for me on Twitter. Handle mother1, mother_1, MUTHA_ONE. But thanks again, guys.
Well, thank you, brother. And then listen, I knew what I was getting into when I invited you.
Yeah.
I'm all for that. I wanted your great takes. So it might take you a while, but I know that, but I want to get that. No, seriously though, we saw the chats popping and everything. I'm like, I gotta get OBM on here to give his
good.
thoughts. So
It's all good.
it works out perfectly. And yeah.
I will take arrows for God of War. Like, bring it over. Like, I don't care. It's great.
Is
It's
that a hot
great
take that it's a good game?
game. Yeah,
Wait.
it's a great game. No,
Yeah, it's a good game.
Inferno in the chat was like,
What'd you say?
I want to see Bab. I will take that. I'd love to get.
yeah.
Oh, when it comes to Xbox.
Xbox,
when it
yeah.
comes to Xbox, but
I was gonna say it's already on PC, isn't it? But okay, it's Xbox. Okay. Yeah. Oh man, can you imagine? I can't even imagine the reaction from most, at least the more vocal PlayStation guys, if that happened.
Yeah, the three guys that make the graphics, so like, they're gonna lose it.
But Bad Bit, thank you too, brother, for joining us. And I know it was funny because like you were already not obligated, but you were already on another show, so you came through here and cut time there. So appreciate you for doing that, and
Of course.
tell the good folks where they can find you and what you'll be up to.
All right, listen, y'all. You can find me over at Mr. Babbitt on Twitter, where they shadow banned me because of I don't even know what, but like
Too hot.
my replies are too hot, probably.
Broke the internet
probably-
like Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, I probably made fun of Elon or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, your cars kind of look dumb. Like,
They
shut
do.
up, it's cool.
That car is hideous.
Yeah.
The truck is,
Thing
yeah.
looks like a
The truck is
microwave,
hideous.
yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, no, you can find me over there where I make passionate pleas to just like share gameplay clips, like celebrate games. People are like very surprised that I even host a PlayStation show because of how like ambiguous I am over on there. And you can find The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players, where me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest, the greatest in all things PlayStation each and every Thursday. Our latest episode is up if you want to check that out. We talk about what we talk about here. We talk about PSVR 2. We talk about, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Go check out that episode. There's so much yesterday that I don't even remember everything. Elden Ring, ooh-wee. So yeah, go check out The Trophy Room. We're really proud of what we've done so far this year, and we are, we've had awesome guests like Sam Barlow on the show, creator of Immortality. We are looking to get more voice talent on the show to talk about their journey. So maybe if you like Baldur's Gate, maybe if you like, Final Fantasy VII Remake, you might want to tune into the show sometime soon. And yeah, you can find all that stuff over at PS Trophy Room on Twitter, the Trophy Room wherever you get your podcast service of choice, or at PS Trophy Room on YouTube. You can find us there. So thank you guys so much for having me. I love discussing games rationally with y'all. It makes why I do this so fun, because it's not about like the heat,
Mhm.
the SEO like things.
Exactly.
Celebrating it.
And that's what we should be doing, right? And that's what me and Danny, we have that accord, because we're not here to try to console war and to just
Yep.
poo-poo games. Now, Danny might have more of a more critical eye than me when it comes to some of these games, so it might sound like that, but in
I'm
general,
just a pessimist.
right? See, yeah, I'm the optimist. He's the pessimist. That's what it is. But no, but seriously, we don't come into this to trash what we love. We love gaming. We love all these other things in forms of media too. So we're working that way in that aspect. So, and that's what it should be about. It should not be about us coming to clash and argue and be mad.
Mhm.
Not to say that that won't eventually happen on certain things, because that's what disagreements can lead to that. But that's what gaming should be. We should be adult men acting like such and talking about our hobby and joy, But thank you both for being here. I got you guys socials and such in the description, and I will be uploading the time stamps, of course, accordingly tonight before, so everybody can come through later and get caught up. And Danny, my esteemed co-host,
Yeah.
great show, of course. Where can the good folks find you, and what will you be up to?
You can find me on Twitter at Daniel J. McG, or my personal YouTube channel of Daniel McG. Or next week, we already recorded it, but it's going up next week. I'm hosting a NFL trivia game on the Brown Boy Wonders podcast. It is exclusively a podcast. You won't find it on YouTube. Find it at your favorite podcast services. It was a lot of fun. So find me in any of those places.
Very nice, very nice. I didn't know you were a football enjoyer.
I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Well, I wasn't until recently. The lead up to
Hmm.
the recent Super Bowl, I was like, yeah, I can get into this. And then I put out some tweets about the Super Bowl, and people commented on there like, do you want to be on our NFL trivia thing? And I was like, I don't know anything. They're like, you want to host it and like come up with the questions? And I was like, hell yeah, brother. So here we are.
Nice. All right. Well, yeah, it works out. That works. But listen, Danny and of course our guests, they're all their socials and such in the description. You can subscribe to their channels. OBM, I know yours is still under construction. I also have it listed as such. And-
Yeah, I've been making a video. I didn't even talk about it. By the time
Yeah.
it comes out, we'll be the new console generation. So.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, good things come to those who wait. So you guys stay tuned for OBM and his channel, and it'll be up eventually. And definitely go and give this brother a subscription, if you would please. And myself, of course, Infinite Umbra Infinite on Twitter X. You'll find me either way. And as far as shows, Tuesdays again with Boom and Cast, and typically now myself, Boom, and Steel Rain. And that's Tuesdays at 12 o'clock Eastern. Our show here, The Fix, Thursdays at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And the Infinite podcast tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Eastern. So you guys come by tomorrow and hear us all, myself, Riskit, that blue number, and a bevy of different guests to fill in until our brother Jedi Knight Peter comes back. And that's really it, guys. And thank you all in the chat again for being here with us. You could be anywhere else in the world, but you were here suffering with us. No, I'm joking. Later, guys. We will get out of here. See you guys later.